In the initial development stage of the ant colony, it is mainly based on resource investment, and it cannot produce spiritual honey on its own in a short period of time. Zhou Daocheng walked closer to check, picked up a baby fist-sized soul-swallowing ant, and carefully observed its changes. This is not an ordinary soul-swallowing ant, but a soul-swallowing ant that has absorbed the innate purple qi and changed its race and characteristics to a certain extent. The purple qi blood inherited from the queen ant has indeed changed them a little, which surprised Zhou Daocheng. This first-level inferior purple qi soul-swallowing ant is slightly larger than the ordinary soul-swallowing ant, and looks more domineering. The black carapace, with complex lavender patterns and a mysterious light, looks extremely exquisite, like a work of art. Zhou Daocheng roughly checked it and found that it was only the defense, which was more than 30% stronger than the ordinary soul-swallowing ant, and it also had a certain resistance to water and fire and other attributes, so it would not be burned to death by the flames. Moreover, the forelimbs of the soul-devouring ants that have absorbed the innate purple qi are obviously stronger, their strength is greatly improved, and their combat effectiveness is also rising. In addition, the soul-devouring ants' most important means of attack, the mouthparts, have also become as sharp as a blade. Although their strength is relatively low now, they can easily eat hard ores. These three changes are all things that the original soul-devouring ants never had, and almost double the overall strength of the soul-devouring ants. According to Zhou Daocheng's estimation, a purple qi soul-devouring ant should be able to easily fight against 5 ordinary soul-devouring ants of the same level. Is this the effect of the innate purple qi? It's really terrible. Zhou Daocheng couldn't help but sigh. The enhancement of individual strength may seem insignificant, but in fact, the effect brought by this change is far more powerful than imagined. You should know that this huge change in strength does not only appear in one soul-devouring ant, but all soul-devouring ants bred in the future can increase their strength by more than 5 times. In this way, the strength that the entire soul-devouring ant colony can improve is enough to exceed imagination. Strictly speaking, after the improvement of the innate purple energy, this is no longer a soul-devouring ant colony, but another completely different special ant colony. Based on the original soul-devouring ant colony, it has a stronger physique and strength, and may also have some special abilities, but Zhou Daocheng has not noticed it yet. So after thinking about it, Zhou Daocheng made a decision. The soul-devouring ant was officially renamed Purple Armored Soul-Devouring Ant. It is conceivable that as the purple armored soul-devouring ants completely develop into a huge ant colony, the combat power they can show must be very terrifying, at least they can crush ordinary soul-devouring ants. But now, their strength is still too weak. Now in the entire ant colony, there is only one combat force, a second-level inferior male soul-devouring ant. The strength is far inferior to that of a foundation-building strongman, and only has the strength of the 9th level of qi refining. Zhou Daocheng roughly checked it out, and then continued to feed some spiritual honey to replenish the energy of the purple-armored soul-devouring ant queen. It can be found that a new batch of ant eggs in the ant nest are already hatching, with a slightly larger number than the first batch, and they should be able to hatch successfully in a while. In this way, the number of ant colonies will expand rapidly in a few months at most. Zhou Daocheng is full of expectations for this extremely powerful spirit ant. As long as this ant colony can develop to its original scale, and it is the more powerful, purple armor-swallowing spirit ant, then Balin Lake will be considered to have sufficient strength. Even the entire Zhou family has the capital to rise again. After settling down, Zhou Daocheng was not in a hurry, but stayed in the underground cave to practice, but before he practiced for long, he was interrupted by the communication between Meng Yushan and Lin Yuan. Zhou Daocheng looked at the information on the communication stone, raised his eyebrows, and muttered to himself, why did the two of them come back early? Did something unexpected happen? According to the original arrangement, the two would expand as casual cultivators in the past 6 months or even several years, but they never thought that only a few months later, the two would come back again. Zhou Daocheng did not delay and got up and went to the valley. When they saw Meng Yushan and Lin Yuan, they also saw the group of people behind them, and their eyes lit up. There were a dozen people in total, 5 of whom had reached the 8th level of qi refining, and their auras were not weak, so they should be considered to be relatively strong in the same level. The remaining dozen people had also reached the 6th and 7th levels of qi refining. These were Bai Cholan, Huang Long, Wu Shangling, Wan Yang, Xiaolan and others who came to the valley for the first time. When they walked into this hidden mountain and felt the rich spiritual energy and the peaceful and prosperous development environment, they were all stunned for a while. The first-class spiritual veins, neatly arranged spiritual fields, gurgling springs, and the protection of the mysterious formations. Originally, they thought that Meng Yushin's description of the valley was somewhat exaggerated, but now that they saw it with their own eyes, they found that it was even better. The environment here is no weaker than the base of a powerful force, and even better in some aspects. Young master, Meng Yushin and Lin Yuan bowed respectfully and greeted him, which also brought back the thoughts of Bai Cholan and others. The group looked at the young man in front of them with curiosity, but the next moment, they felt a heavy breath like the abyss emanating from the young man. What a terrifying breath. This kind of strength. The peak of the 9th level of qi refining. With shock and courtesy, the group also bowed respectfully. Zhou Daocheng just waved his hand and asked Meng Yushin about the situation of everyone. The 5 leaders, Bai Cholan, Huang Long, Wu Shangling, Wan Yang, and Xiao Lan, are all cultivators of the 8th level of qi refining. The remaining dozen people are members of Wu Shangling and Xiao Lan's hunting team. After the 2 leaders joined the valley, the others also joined. Of course, Meng Yushin had made arrangements in advance, asking Wu Shangling and Xiao Lan to learn the secret method of spirit and control the members of his hunting team. This was also Zhou Daocheng's request, to ensure that everyone who returned to the valley could be strictly controlled in his hands to avoid any unexpected situations. After a general understanding, Zhou Daocheng also made arrangements for them. Still on the cliff of the valley, let them dig a cave by themselves and officially settle down in the valley, but if they want to fully integrate, it should take some time to get in touch. Zhou Daocheng took Meng Yushin and Lin Yuan to a meeting room on the cliff to learn more about the situation of this outing. Meng Yushin knew everything and told everything, including hunting the purple demon wolf spider, subduing Bai Cholan and others, subsequently discovering the oppression of casual cultivators in Baihifeng City, and finally reconciling Xie Zhouhei and Wang. The 2 of them were talking about the micro-market for casual cultivators. I hope you will be punished by me. I made my own decision and agreed to the micro-market, but it is indeed profitable. Meng Yushin said solemnly. Zhou Daocheng waved his hand, ignored Meng Yushin's plea, and began to think seriously in his mind. He now also understands that the purpose of Meng Yushin and others coming back early is very simple, which is to inform him about the micro-square market. And this matter is indeed no small matter. It affects all the casual cultivators around Baihifeng City, and even involves some small family forces. But there is no doubt that the valley can indeed benefit from such a bold idea and change the status quo to a great extent. The price changes in Baihifeng City will definitely not end in a short time, and things like this will definitely not happen just once in the future. There is nothing new under the sun. If you want to get rid of it once and for all, there are only 2 ways: either become one of the controllers of Baihifeng City and profit from the oppressor, or completely break away from the Baihifeng City system, and just like Meng Yushin said, establish a mini-Feng City among casual cultivators and become an independent existence. Moreover, as the advocate and founder of the micro-market, Zhou Daocheng can also make profits from it and obtain a large amount of resources in casual cultivation. This is also a rare opportunity. Therefore, not only would Zhou Daocheng not complain about Meng Yushin, he would even admire his boldness and decisiveness for actually directly contacting other 9th level qi refining cultivators to settle the matter, which solved a big trouble. In the future, as long as the plan is finalized and any difficulties that may arise are resolved, perhaps this micro-market dedicated to casual cultivators can really be realized. There is no need to worry about leadership issues. The only things that need to be considered are the location of the market and the talent for cultivating immortals. Just as Meng Yushin arranged, as long as we find a suitable environment and cooperate with Zhou Daocheng's formation protection, the Fengshi location is actually very easy to solve. But the skill of cultivating immortals has become the most troublesome problem. The Zhou family members can solve the magic weapon very well, and even inject fresh power into the downtrodden Zhou family to restore vitality. When it comes to alchemy, Qin Lai can barely be considered an alchemist, but with his level, Zhou Daocheng really doesn't have much confidence. The success rate is less than 30%, and the elixir materials consumed are probably not as much as the spiritual stones earned. Not to mention the talisman, no one seems to be proficient in it. Perhaps, the advice put forward by the 9th level qi refining casual cultivator is actually the best solution. Zhou Daocheng only thought for a moment and understood that those qi refining families who were proficient in the art of cultivating immortals but were weak could indeed become allies. They are also oppressed, and they also need a new platform, which can definitely better integrate into the micro-market. When Zhou Daocheng thought about all the problems, he had already made a decision in his heart. Looking at Meng Yushan, Zhou Daocheng said calmly, "You did a good job, so according to your plan, what are your next plans?" After receiving the affirmation, Meng Yushan also smiled and said, "The next step is to ask the young master to go and meet with other casual cultivators of the 9th level of qi refining. At least give a guarantee on the formation to ensure that the follow-up plan can continue." After saying this, Meng Yushan thought for a while and added, "At the same time, it also demonstrates our strength and ensures that we occupy a dominant position in this operation, so that we can obtain greater benefits when the benefits are distributed in the future." Zhou Daocheng nodded slightly and glanced at Meng Yushan with satisfaction. After this period of training, Meng Yushan has obviously matured a lot. Both the way he handles things and his overall layout ability are gradually improving. Compared to Lin Yuan, who was sloppy on the side, his performance was countless times better. "Then let's go and have a look." Zhou Daocheng thought for a moment and agreed. After all, the people in the valley and Balin Lake, and even the entire Zhou family, are no longer much different from casual cultivators. Without the support of strong foundation builders, we can only be the oppressed. Therefore, the situation in Baihifang City will sooner or later affect the Zhou family and Balin Lake. The longer the war lasts, the greater the impact will inevitably be. If this continues for a long time, it will definitely affect future development to a great extent. In the next few days, Meng Yushan and others stayed in the valley. On the one hand, waiting for information from the casual cultivators. On the other hand, it also helps newcomers such as Bai Cholan integrate into the valley. For the dozen or so new people who joined, Zhou Daocheng also made new arrangements to allow them to participate in various developments in the valley. Nowadays, there are two huge projects in the valley that are in urgent need of manpower, namely the construction of underwater caves and the development of planting and breeding industries. The construction of the underwater cave was mainly managed by Zhao Yunji, but due to lack of manpower, the progress was always slow. Therefore, Zhou Daocheng was very generous this time and directly assigned a group of members from the 6th and 7th levels of qi refining to join Zhao Yunji's construction team. As for the planting and breeding industry, Qin Lai has been in charge of it before, but now, there is a more professional person, Wan Yang. As a spiritual planter, Wan Yang is naturally more professional in the cultivation and care of spiritual herbs. Therefore, from now on, Wan Yang will be fully responsible for the cultivation of elixirs in the valley, and she will also be assigned some manpower from the 6th and 7th levels of qi refining. In this way, all the cultivators of the 6th and 7th levels of qi refining in the valley, including the original Huangzhou, Zhang Yin and others, as well as the hunting team members of Wu Shangling and Xiao Lan who joined later, were all arranged and assigned to Zhao Yunji and Wan Yang respectively. Qin Lai was able to get out completely, without having to spend his mind on the underwater cave, and could concentrate on refining pills while protecting the safety of the valley. Meng Yushan and Lin Yuan, with Bai Cholan, Huang Long, Wu Shangling, and Xiao Lan, continued to form a powerful team of independent cultivators. These independent cultivators did not resist such an arrangement, and the comfortable and peaceful cultivation life was also what they dreamed of. Time passed in a flash. Soon, Xie Zhouhei contacted Meng Yushan and agreed to meet in a valley outside Baihifang City. Zhou Daocheng did not bring too many people to this meeting, only himself, Meng Yushan, and Lin Yuan. Although the number of people was small, the strength was very strong. Zhou Daocheng himself has reached the peak of the 8th level of qi refining, and can be on par with the 9th level of qi refining. Although his lethality is insufficient, he can at least ensure that he will not die. But if he adds the 3 first-level superior formations of A Golden Spear and White Vine Formation, Purple Air and Green Spirit Sword Formation, and Quicksand Formation, he can suppress even a powerful person who has reached the 90th level of qi refining. Meng Yushan and Lin Yuan are both at the 9th level of qi refining. With the help of the formation, their strength is far beyond that of ordinary 9th level qi refining cultivators. It is no exaggeration to say that if the 3 of them act together, they can remain invincible even if they are besieged by 5 9th level qi refining cultivators at the same time. Under the guidance of Meng Yushan and Lin Yuan, the 3 of them successfully arrived at the designated valley. This place is hidden, with rugged rocks in the valley and towering mountains around, but there is no spiritual energy. It is a very ordinary valley. But for casual cultivators, this place is not ordinary. Because many casual cultivators often barter here and exchange the cultivation resources they need. It is a secret trading place among casual cultivators. And here, there is also an unwritten rule. That is, once entering the trading range, it is forbidden to use swords and knives, otherwise they will be expelled by all flash cultivators and will never be able to enter here. Most casual cultivators will follow this rule. So many times, casual cultivators will choose to gather here, which is also a symbol of friendship. Not long after the three arrived, Xie Zhouhei came from a distance with a smile. At first glance, he saw Zhou Daocheng standing between the two, and his eyes could not help shrinking slightly. Zhou Daocheng was still wearing a purple robe and a bronze mask. His aura was heavy and long. Xie Zhouhei could feel his extremely terrifying and powerful strength with just a slight perception. This should be the senior array master, right? I am Xie Zhouhei, meet you. Xie Zhouhei said respectfully. Zhou Daocheng nodded slightly and said in a low voice, no need to be polite. I came here to build the market. I wonder how you are preparing. Xie Zhouhei hurriedly replied. I have contacted several leaders of the 9th level qi refining cultivators. They are almost all here. Please move over and talk. Xie Zhouhei did not say much, and took Zhou Daocheng and the other two to a cave in the cliff. The interior was very spacious, inlaid with bright night pearls, and there were already 5 people sitting inside. Their auras were all extremely heavy, and they were all powerful people at the 9th level of qi refining. Including Xie Zhouhei and Zhou Daocheng, there were 9 qi refining level 9 masters present. As the organizer, Xie Zhouhei naturally took the initiative to introduce the 3 people. When they learned that Zhou Daocheng was a formation master, everyone's eyes changed. They all took a deep look at the man in purple robes and bronze masks, and a hint of fear emerged. At the same time, their attitudes became more respectful. The strength of the formation master itself is not weak, much stronger than the alchemist and the refiner, and the identity of the formation master alone is enough to make everyone put down their posture and make friends. Everyone present, as a senior casual cultivator, naturally knows how much their own strength will be improved if they have a set of formations. Moreover, putting aside personal strength and status, there are 2 other qi refining level 9 masters standing behind this person, and their strength is definitely the strongest among them. Among the crowd, there was an old man, and when he saw Meng Yushan and Lin Yuan behind Zhou Daocheng, his eyes suddenly changed slightly. Meng Yushan and Lin Yuan also noticed the gazes, smiled and walked forward to pay their respects, and said respectfully, Junior Meng Yushan, Lin Yuan greets Elder Wei. This scene drew everyone's attention away from Zhou Daocheng, and they looked at the 3 curiously. In theory, the 3 of them were all at the 9th level of qi refining, so how could they be called seniors? After all, in the world of immortal cultivation, the age difference between cultivators is quite large, so the seniority is only determined by strength, and the secular world is not used at all. But when the old man spoke, everyone immediately understood. Little Meng and Zhaolin, I didn't expect you to have broken through to the 9th level of qi refining. Meng Yushan smiled and said, it was just luck. The old man called Wei Lao patted the 2 people's shoulders gently, his face full of emotion, and said, when you joined my hunting team, you were only 17 or 18 years old, and your strength was only the 5th level of qi refining. Wei Lao, were these 2 people in your hunting team? Yes, you should have seen them back then, but they were relatively weak at that time, so you may not have paid much attention. Later, after reaching the 8th level of qi refining, they left separately. Wei Lao explained, and everyone present completely let down their guard. After all, if it was really as Wei Lao said, then Meng Yushan and Lin Yuan were also innocent people. Xie Zhouhei also smiled and said, since everyone knows each other, I won't introduce them too much, and I hope our subsequent conversation will go smoothly. After hearing this, everyone found a seat and sat down, and officially began to discuss the plan to build a miniature market, which was the focus of today. Xie Zhouhei said, you all probably know the situation. Baihei market is controlled by various forces. They buy monster materials at low prices and sell cultivation resources at high prices. Under such oppression, we have been unable to make ends meet. This is why we are gathered here. A rough man snorted angrily and echoed, fellow Taoist Xie is right. They are really too much. A bottle of first-level medium-grade rejuvenation pill actually wants 200 spirit stones from me. Why don't they just rob it? Indeed, although prices fluctuated before, they were barely within the acceptable range. This time it is really too much. Old Wei also said, my magic weapon is damaged, and I dare not go to Baihei Market to recast it. Now I rely on a first-level medium-grade magic weapon to hunt monsters. ... Everyone complained and anger appeared on their faces. The burly man said indignantly, Baihe Market is really a small market, which has been messed up by various foundation building forces. If it were in Luan Market, would these beasts dare to do it? Alas, there is no need to say more. Baihe Market is located on the eastern edge and is not taken seriously. It is helpless to have such a situation. Humph, so when fellow Taoist Xie proposed to build a new market, Yuan immediately agreed to come. The burly man said in a loud and majestic voice. Fellow Taoist Xie, tell me about your plan. If it is really possible to realize it, I, Yuan Zhang, will be the first to agree. Seeing everyone looking at him, Xie Zhouhei took a sip of tea and said calmly, I have discussed with fellow Taoist Meng before. If we want to build a micro-market, we must first have a strong person to take the lead. We are already in progress. If it goes well, we will be the founders of this micro-market. Everyone nodded slightly. The influence of several of them among the casual cultivators was not low, and they were indeed qualified to be the founders. Xie Zhouhei continued. Secondly, we need to find an area suitable for building a market town, and then the formation master will set up the formation to ensure the safety of the market town. The overall plan is actually very simple, even so simple that it only takes 2 steps. However, everyone present was still in deep thought. The old voice of Wei Lao slowly sounded. Now it seems that the most troublesome formation has been solved. The only thing we need to do is to find an area suitable for building a market town. Yes, as long as these preparations are completed, the subsequent construction of the market town will be much easier. Xie Zhouhei said. Everyone, think about it, is there any area suitable for building a market town in the surrounding area? Meng Yushan looked at everyone and asked. The burly man Yuan Zhang was the first to break the silence and said, what do you think of the area southeast of Baihe Market, near the river? It has convenient transportation and spacious land, which is absolutely very suitable for building a market. Everyone just thought about it for a while and frowned. No, it's too close to Baihe Market and too conspicuous. Xie Zhouhei immediately denied it. Yuan Zhang scratched his head and asked in confusion, what's wrong with being conspicuous? Shouldn't a market be conspicuous? We will definitely make a lot of money by then. Old Yuan, use your brain. If we build a market under the nose of Baihe Market, do you think those foundation building forces will let us go? A female casual cultivator said angrily. Well, there is some truth in that. Xie Zhouhei also spoke up to remind. Xie also needs to remind everyone that the establishment of the market must not be publicized, everything must be done in secret, and the location of the market must be as far away from Baihe Market as possible. Everyone nodded slightly. They naturally couldn't be naive enough to think that with a few 9th-level qi refining masters, they could really compete with the foundation building forces. Moreover, the establishment of a micro-market will inevitably affect the interests of Baihe Market, so Baihe Market must be avoided in the process to ensure that everything goes smoothly. At this time, Meng Yushan suddenly said, what do you think of the area near the Poison Thorn Mountain Range? It is located in the northeast of Baihe Market, far enough away, and the surrounding resources are not too rich. But after thinking about it, everyone still denied it. The terrain near the Poison Thorn Mountain Range is too complicated, with many swamps and forests, and there are many poisonous insects. The environment is definitely not superior. Moreover, the rich resources mentioned by Meng Yushan are out of the question. Although there are many wild beasts and poisonous insects, the number of spiritual veins is actually very poor. Strictly speaking, the 100-insect poison swamp further east is more dangerous and has a worse environment, but it has a large number of spiritual veins and the environment is far better than the Poison Thorn Mountains. If everyone's strength is not insufficient, the 100-insect poison swamp is definitely a better choice. But everyone is also very clear that if you want to occupy a place in the 100-insect poison swamp, you need at least the strength of the late stage of foundation building, or even the strength of the Purple Mansion. Otherwise, the excellent environment of the 100-insect poison swamp would have been divided up by powerful foundation building forces long ago, so how could they have a turn? Just a 100-insect poison swamp is so dangerous that it is likely to have a 3rd-level monster, not to mention the East Great Wilderness Vein, which is even larger and stretches for tens of millions of miles without seeing the edge. Next, someone else put forward other opinions, but they were not recognized by everyone because of various problems. Until the end, everyone was silent and racked their brains but couldn't think of a suitable place. At this time, the oldest Wei Hanshan suddenly said, most of the locations chosen by fellow Taoists are relatively safe places. Have you considered some dangerous areas? Old Wei, do you have any opinions? Wei Hanshan paused and said, I know a place far away from Baihe Market. Not only is the location hidden and suitable for building a micro-market, but the concentration of spiritual energy is not low. Hearing this, everyone's eyes lit up and looked over. Old Wei, is there really such a place? But soon someone reacted and asked tentatively. Old Wei, since there is a spiritual vein, it should not be ownerless, right? Wei Hanshin nodded and said, go east for 7 days, at the edge of the East Great Wilderness Vein, before reaching the area of the 100 Insects Poison Swamp, there is a valley shrouded in thick fog all year round. The concentration of spiritual energy can reach the 2nd level, and all conditions should be able to meet the needs of the micro-market. But the only trouble is that it is shrouded in thick clouds all year round, the internal environment is very complex, and there are 3 first-level top-grade Mirage Cloud Pythons living there. Their strength should not be underestimated, especially in that fog, their strength is much stronger. Fog Valley, someone exclaimed softly, obviously knowing that area and the mysterious valley. Why didn't I think of the Fog Valley? Xie Zhouhei said with a little surprise. If you don't consider the 3 Mirage Cloud Pythons, the Fog Valley is indeed very suitable. It is not deep in the East Great Wilderness, and it is not as dangerous as the 100 Insects Poison Swamp. Moreover, there are spiritual veins, and we can rely on the valley to set up formations. Someone immediately agreed. Yes, and this valley is not well known. Even if we build a market there, it will not attract attention. After listening to everyone's conversation, Zhou Daocheng also got some understanding of the Fog Valley. It is a mysterious valley thousands of miles to the east, which is shrouded in thick fog all year round, and there are faint fluctuations of rich spiritual energy. Because the location is in an unexplored area, it is fresh and few people know about it. Only those who have lived in this area for many years have occasionally heard of it. So the concealment is beyond doubt, and the conditions in all aspects are also very superior. The only thing that bothers people is the 3 powerful Mirage Cloud Pythons. Yuan Zhang thought about it carefully and nodded solemnly. I think Elder Wei's suggestion is very good. There should be no more suitable place in this area. Yes, the distance is suitable and the environment is suitable. Xie Zhouhei also agreed. Wei Hanshin nodded, looked at everyone and said, there is no need to worry about the environment in the Fog Valley, but fellow Taoists can consider whether they have the ability to deal with the 3 Mirage Cloud Pythons. As soon as these words came out, everyone's face showed a trace of caution. However, a monster at the peak of the 1st level is stronger than a strong person at the 9th level of qi refining. In a one-on-one situation with everyone present, it is almost definitely not the case. Mirage Python's opponent. It's even possible that 3 versus 1 can barely lead to a tie. Just like when the iron-backed beast was besieged and killed, the family leader brought 3 9th-level qi refining experts, restrained by formations, and finally with the assistance of the 2nd-level spiritual magic weapon, he was able to defeat the iron-backed beast both mentally and physically. Brutal Bear. Among them, the effect of the 2nd-level magic weapon soul-suppressing bell reaches at least 60%. It can be seen that at the same level, the strength of monster beasts far exceeds that of human monks. At this time, a middle-aged man with a thin face and sharp eyes suddenly said, if you really want to take action, you can arrange for 2 fellow Taoists to assist me. I can definitely kill a Mirage Python. Ryanagi Road's friendly spirit. Fellow Taoist Liu is at the peak of the 9th level of qi refining, and is famous for his use of poison. With the cooperation of the other 2 fellow Taoists, it is indeed possible to kill Yidoto. Zhou Daocheng also looked at this person in surprise. He had the guts to take over a top-grade first-order monster, so his strength must be strong. And he could clearly feel that the strength of this casual cultivator named Liu was very good, second only to the old man Wei Hanshin among the people. Among the casual cultivators in this battle, most of them were in the early and middle stages of the 9th level of qi refining. Only Wei Hanshin, the cultivator surnamed Liu, and Xie Zhouhei were relatively strong, all of whom had reached the late stage and were very strong. The casual cultivator surnamed Liu spoke, which immediately brought hope to everyone. After thinking for a while, Zhou Daocheng also lowered his voice and said, 3 Mirage Cloud Pythons, you can count me as one. Hearing this, everyone's faces showed joy again. If the cultivator surnamed Liu spoke, it meant that the plan might succeed. Then now that Zhou Daocheng took the 2nd Mirage Cloud Python alone, it meant that the operation had been more than half successful. Because among the remaining few people, Xie Zhouhei and Wei Hanshin were both strong, and they had been in the business for many years, so they had more or less some tricks up their sleeves, so it was not difficult to get rid of a Mirage Cloud Python. This is indeed the case. Xie Zhouhei and Wei Hanshin looked at each other, nodded to each other, and said, "In this case, the last Mirage Cloud Python will be handed over to me and Elder Wei." After the preliminary arrangements were made, the rough man Yuan Zhang said impatiently, "Since everything has been agreed upon, when will you take action?" "As soon as possible. We are at least 10 days away from the Fog Valley. If you have no objection to this plan, then we'd better set off immediately," Wei Hanshan said lightly. Everyone looked at each other and nodded. Everyone present was a casual cultivator, and apart from their own casual cultivator teams, they had almost no worries. So as long as the decision was made, they could act immediately. Seeing that everyone had no objection, Xie Zhouhei said, "Then give everyone 2 hours to settle their teams. 2 hours later, we will set off directly to the Fog Valley." In just a few words, the next itinerary was determined, which made Zhou Daocheng sigh greatly. If this kind of thing were placed in the family, it would take at least 10 days and a half a month to discuss, and then prepare for half a year before it could be implemented. But for casual cultivators, there are not so many complicated procedures. They decided on the spot and set off immediately. However, Zhou Daocheng was happy with this. Such high efficiency is the rhythm of doing big things. After waiting for 2 hours, the 9 people gathered together again and set off directly to the Fog Valley. Because the Fog Valley is infinitely close to the East Grade Wilderness Vein, although it is not as dangerous as the 100 Insects Poison Swamp, it should not be underestimated. So the 9 people all went lightly without any other casual cultivators. The sudden attack of monsters, various unknown dangerous places, harsh environment and intricate routes are all difficulties that everyone needs to deal with. Just 2 days after leaving, they were attacked by a 2-headed black snake. A casual cultivator of the 9th level of Qi refining was injured, but fortunately, everyone was strong and they joined forces to kill the snake directly without any danger. On the 6th day, they mistakenly entered the spiritual land of a yellow spirit bee. This kind of spiritual insect that wins by numbers in groups is as threatening as the spirit-devouring ants. Fortunately, this group of yellow bees was only of the 1st grade upper grade. Zhou Daocheng used the formation to protect everyone and directly broke through the territory of the yellow bees. Therefore, everyone also witnessed the dominance of the formation. Even if thousands of yellow bees swarmed in, Zhou Daocheng was still able to protect everyone with the formation. The next journey, the closer to the Fog Valley, the more dangerous the environment became. The strength of the surrounding monsters has been greatly improved, enough to pose a threat to everyone. In the next few days, almost every day, we can encounter 1st grade upper grade monsters, each of which is very powerful, but everyone is not weak, so we are always safe. It's just that the time spent on the road in the end was a full 10 days longer than the originally scheduled time. After 20 days, everyone saw the valley shrouded in fog. At this time, everyone was already ragged and tired, like a group of savages running out of the mountains. Meng Yushin showed a happy expression and said excitedly, "We are here. We have finally reached the Fog Valley. Damn it, it took us 20 days to walk this short distance. It was really a pain." Yuan Zhang wiped his sweaty face and sat on the ground with a sense of relief. Although they were tired, they were happy to see that they were in the Fog Valley. Moreover, the spiritual energy here was more abundant, enough for everyone to recover their consumed physical strength. After all, they had been passing through barren mountains all the way, and the spiritual energy was always in a state of scarcity, but now, they could clearly feel that the Fog Valley was filled with rich spiritual energy. Wei Hanshan said calmly, "Everyone, we have arrived. Let's take a rest and prepare to act directly." "Old Wei, are you in such a hurry? How about I rest for a day or 2 before taking action?" Yuan Zhang asked, panting. The female monk kicked him and said coldly, "If you are willing to stay in this ghost environment for 2 more days, then you can stay by yourself. I won't serve you." On the side, Xie Zhouhei did not participate in the conversation, but looked at Zhou Daocheng behind him and asked, "Senior, do you think this environment is suitable for setting up formations?" Zhou Daocheng did not reply, but carefully looked at the valley in front of him and the complex terrain around the valley. Looking over, there are a large number of complex peaks around the Fog Valley, and thick fog is lingering and flowing in it, and the waves are so strange that people can't see clearly. Zhou Daocheng frowned, and his thoughts were lost for a while. He actually felt a mysterious rhythm in the flow of clouds and mist. He vaguely felt that the arrangement of the mountains around the Fog Valley seemed natural, but in fact it had a different charm, and it vaguely conformed to the layout of the array. The flowing fog seemed to flow randomly, but it could vaguely see a trace of regularity, but it was impossible to figure it out thoroughly. For a moment, Zhou Daocheng was stunned and stared at the fog valley in front of him. Senior, senior, until Xie Zhouhei shouted several times in a row, Zhou Daocheng woke up from his trance. Senior, you have been staring at the fog valley. Have you discovered anything? Xie Zhouhei asked. Zhou Daocheng did not answer directly, but took a deep look at the fog valley. After thinking for a while, he said, there are some problems here, but I can't be sure. I need to check the terrain of the fog valley from a high place. Is there really a problem? Xie Zhouhei looked at the fog valley in surprise, his eyes full of surprise. At least from his point of view, he did not see anything abnormal. Hearing this, the others also showed a vigilant look. Wei Hanshan came over, took a cautious look at the fog valley, and said, since the senior feels that there is something unusual, we must investigate it carefully. Although they are not array masters, and have not even come into contact with arrays, they know very well that array masters are sensitive to the terrain of mountains and rivers, which is definitely not comparable to them. Zhou Daocheng did not say much, but took everyone to a nearby high mountain to check the situation of the fog valley from a high place. Climbing to the top, the entire fog valley is in full view. The surrounding hills are all surrounded by thick fog, but Zhou Daocheng did not feel the ethereal feeling of flying in the clouds, but a little heavy. Zhou Daocheng keenly discovered that although the fog looked very thin, in fact, in perception, the fog was much thicker than imagined. It is even denser than the artificially gathered fog in the cloud and fog array. This also aroused Zhou Daocheng's curiosity. What kind of terrain can condense so much fog? What is Qingcheng's special environment? And when he carefully looked at the surrounding terrain, he vaguely noticed something unusual. The terrain and mountains here seem to be natural, but in fact they have a mysterious arrangement, like complex formation lines, which are vaguely connected together. The more carefully he observed it, the more Zhou Daocheng realized there was something unusual about it. The mountains with a radius of dozens of miles gradually formed a pattern of formations in his eyes. The mist and spiritual energy circulated in it, and they actually moved according to certain rules. This is a natural formation. When Zhou Daocheng eliminated all other possibilities, he finally got an answer in his heart, natural formation. But even he himself was extremely shocked by this answer. He stared blankly at the scene in front of him, barely able to suppress the excitement in his heart. In the inheritance of formations, natural formations were briefly mentioned. All things in the world are unpredictable. Under the power of natural trends, special terrains may naturally develop, thus forming natural formations. When the art of formations was first created, it was the talented monks who learned from these natural formations, improved and created them, and this led to the inheritance of formations today. Natural formations have always been extremely mysterious, extremely rare, and extremely powerful among formations. The art of formation pays attention to momentum. And the natural formation formed by the general trend of heaven and earth has a power that is definitely not comparable to that of ordinary formations. The one in front of me is a natural fog formation. What shocked him even more was that the quality of this set of natural mist formations actually reached the second level of high quality. Such a terrifying formation cannot be seen through even by strong foundation builders, and they may even be trapped in it, completely lost in the layers of clouds and mist. As if aware of Zhou Daocheng's shock, Xie Zhouhei asked cautiously, Senior, how is the situation? Zhou Daocheng did not hide anything and told the general information he saw. For a moment, everyone was silent, staring blankly at the fog-shrouded valley in front of them. They themselves never thought that a natural second-level high-grade formation existed in a random valley. Although they don't understand what the natural formation means, they can still understand the words, second-order high-grade formation. The second-level high-grade formation means that even a peak foundation building expert will most likely be trapped by the formation. No matter how confident they were in Zhou Daocheng, they still felt a little worried at this moment. No matter how high the formation talent is, there is a high probability that it will not reach the second-level high grade. If such a being really existed, why would he build a market with them? He would have already joined the Qingxian sect and was treated as a guest. However, someone soon noticed something unusual. Yuan Zhang wondered. No, if this is a second-level high-grade formation, how does the Mirage Cloud Python live in it? Hearing this, Zhou Daocheng said calmly, the natural formation is completely formed by the natural terrain, so it cannot be as perfect as the man-made formation. As long as you find weak terrain, it is possible to enter it. Moreover, the natural formation is not controlled by the formation master, so it is not very changeable. Those 3 mirage cloud pythons should have found a secret entrance, so they can live in it. The others nodded thoughtfully. Wei Hanshin asked in a deep voice, Senior, can you break this formation? It's hard to break, but if you just get in, it shouldn't be a problem. Then please ask Senior to take action. It doesn't matter. Zhou Daocheng answered calmly, and then his eyes were completely immersed in this natural mist formation. But it is simple to say, but it is still very difficult to implement. Even if there are few changes in the formation, this is still a second-level formation. Just looking at the surrounding terrain and topography made Zhou Daocheng dizzy. He is only a first-level high-level formation mage, but the extremely mysterious natural formation in front of him has reached a second-level high-level formation, which is too difficult for him. Only through a lot of elimination and screening can we find a road that can reach the end among millions of roads. Zhou Daocheng stood on the top of the mountain and observed it for 2 days. It wasn't until his eyes were filled with bloodshot eyes that he finally saw a hill in a corner and his eyes suddenly lit up. Found it. Zhou Daocheng's voice was cold, with a hint of joy. However, at the moment when everyone should be cheering, no one responded to him. Zhou Daocheng turned around curiously and saw the black line behind him. I saw a group of people scattered around, lying casually on the ground behind them, already sleeping so loudly that they were snoring loudly. Even Wei Hanshin, a serious old man, was resting against a stone. What's more, Yuan Zhang went too far and hugged the only female casual cultivator. He was so sleepy that his mouth was almost drooling, and Zhou Daocheng's mouth twitched. I am working hard here to decipher the second-order formation, but you are sleeping in the back. Without any hesitation, Zhou Daocheng stepped forward and kicked him. Kick everyone awake directly from their sleep. Wei Hanshin didn't change his expression when he woke up, dusted off his clothes, and stood up calmly. Meng Yushin and Lin Principal yawned, but hurriedly got up. Yuan Chong fell into a deep sleep and was woken up by being beaten and kicked by a female monk. When he got up wiping his saliva, he was still in a daze. Even the cold monk named Lu coughed a few times in embarrassment. However, I can't blame everyone for this. After traveling for more than 20 days, I barely had much rest, and I was already exhausted. Moreover, after all, everyone is just a 9th-level chi refining monk, not an immortal, or even a stronger mortal. Eating and sleeping are essential. Ahem, did the senior formation find the intersection? Xie Zhouhei smiled awkwardly and asked. Zhou Daocheng's expression under the bronze mask was quite helpless. He sighed and said, it barely succeeded. In this formation, most of the important formation cores are formed by huge mountains as the core. The potential is extremely powerful. But there is only one place, which is obviously a very critical point in the formation, but there is only one hill. As a result, the power of this area is relatively weak. We should be able to enter with our strength. After everyone heard this, they also looked in the direction of Zhou Daocheng's finger, and they saw a small hill that was not very high and looked very inconspicuous. It can be clearly seen that the fog is much weaker at the edge of this hill, but it is difficult to notice if you don't look carefully. Zhou Daocheng couldn't help but sigh that such a powerful natural formation could have such a big loophole, and he was stunned that he, a first-class formation master, had found a way to enter it. Perhaps, this is also a shortcoming of the natural formation, which will become less perfect for some reasons. If an array master makes slight changes to increase the strength of this weak point, the strength of the entire array may be taken to a higher level. What should we do now? Go directly into the foggy valley and get rid of those 3 mirage pythons. Xie Zhouhei asked. Zhou Daocheng shook his head and said coldly, let's take a rest first, and those who need to sleep can continue to sleep. Hearing this, everyone smiled awkwardly. After this episode, the relationship between them was closer. Next, they did not start the action directly, but opened a cave in the mountain and took a short rest. At this time, Zhou Daocheng made another move that made everyone's eyes widen. He took out a set of array plates, which was the thick earth spirit array, used for cultivation. Because the material used was spiritual fertile soil, the texture was soft and easy to shape. In order to make the array more beautiful, Zhou Daocheng made a simple change to the array pattern. Therefore, when the array was deployed, a set of soil-formed houses was directly formed, which looked small and exquisite. The house formed by the thick earth spirit array not only has good defense, but also has rich spiritual energy inside, which can quickly restore physical strength and spiritual energy. This scene made other casual cultivators swallow their saliva, and their eyes were wide open, and they were unwilling to move away for a long time. Yuan Zhang scratched his head and said, their formation masters are too precious, and how can the formation be used like this? Damn, people are so annoying. Why can we casual cultivators only sleep on the grass and dig into bare caves? Wei Hanshan almost burst into tears. He has been a casual cultivator all his life, either sleeping on trees or digging in caves, and has become accustomed to the cold, damp, and smelly environment. Whenever he rests in the wild, he has to turn a blind eye and live like a wild man. But until today, he was shocked to know that someone could actually bring a cave with him when he went out. This made him suddenly feel that his decades of casual cultivation life were simply lived in vain. Xie Zhouhei coughed twice and said, then don't look at it. When the senior wakes up, let's ask if we can buy a set. Yes, it's better to buy 2 more sets and live in different caves. Yuan Zhang said seriously. The female cultivator glanced at him and said, this should be a first-class high-quality formation. Can you afford it? Yuan Zhang scratched his head. I don't have any spirit stones, but if the senior doesn't mind, I am willing to serve him like a cow and a horse. In response, the cultivator surnamed Lu glanced at him with disdain and said coldly, there is a young girl in Lu's team. She used to be a girl from a small family. She is fair-skinned and beautiful. She should be able to exchange a set of formations with the senior. Quote. Lu Chengzhou, you are too insidious, aren't you? Humph, please watch your words. The cultivator surnamed Lu said coldly. Sour. Seeing that Yuan Zhang was still chattering, Xie Zhouhei hurriedly stopped him and said, enough, shut up, don't disturb the senior's rest. Hearing this, everyone also quieted down. They still wanted to buy formations from Zhou Daocheng, so they naturally wanted to please him. After a brief rest, everyone gathered together to discuss the next move after their spirits and spiritual energy were restored. 2 days later, in the thick earth spiritual array, a group of 9 people sat together. Several casual cultivators looked around curiously. The house was completely made of soil, solid and thick, and there was spiritual energy inside. What shocked them even more was that there were various facilities inside the house, including beds, tables, chairs, etc., all made of mud. This was simply a life they dared not even think about. As expected, after Xie Zhouhei and others came in, they were the first to ask about the situation of this formation. Senior, I wonder if you sell this formation. Can you sell us 1 or 2 sets? Zhou Daocheng raised his eyebrows. He didn't expect that the ordinary, thick earth array, would be so popular. But after thinking about it, he understood the reason. The formation itself has alertness and defense, which can greatly improve safety. What's more, carrying such a formation is almost like carrying a cave with you. You can rest anytime and anywhere, and even fight with the formation. It is really multi-purpose. The function of this formation is perfectly in line with the survival of casual cultivators. Especially compared with their current survival situation, it is like heaven and earth, so they are so eager. However, the thick earth spiritual formation is of high quality and very expensive. For most casual cultivators, it is simply unaffordable. After thinking for a while, Zhou Daocheng said, my set is a first-level superior defense formation, which should be able to sell for more than 1,000 spirit stones in the market. 1,000 spirit stones. Several casual cultivators at the 9th level of qi refining were secretly shocked. This price was indeed difficult for them to bear. However, Zhou Daocheng's next words once again gave everyone hope. However, after the micro market is established, I can try to refine similar first-level mid to low-grade formations. If you need them, you can buy them from me. Senior, can you really do it? Xie Zhouhei was very surprised. Others also showed joy on their faces, secretly thinking that this action was right. Even if they failed to successfully establish the micro market, they could make friends with a formation master, which would definitely be a sure win. Yuan Zhang stood up excitedly and patted his chest and said, Senior, if you can really sell our formations, then I, Yuan Zhang, will be yours in the end. The same goes for me, Wang Qin. Lu Chengzhou is also willing to make friends with you. I hope you don't despise me. Zhou Daocheng waved his hand, and his face remained calm. However, it was a pleasant surprise to receive the goodwill of a group of qi refining level 9 casual cultivators, which might make the future easier. As for the formation, it was easy to solve. Although the thick earth formation was a first-grade upper-grade formation, there were also first-grade lower-grade and middle-grade formations of the same type, such as the earth defense formation and the earth wall formation. Moreover, Zhou Daocheng also had first-grade, middle-grade and lower-grade spiritual fertile soil, so it was not impossible to make a similar, cave-type formation. I appreciate your kindness, but the most important thing now is to build a miniature market, and we can talk about other things later. Zhou Daocheng said calmly. Yes, the environment of the Fog Valley is excellent, and there are natural formations to protect it. Our plan may really be possible. Xie Zhouhei nodded. Then let's act now and solve the three-headed mirage python according to the original plan. The cultivator surnamed Lu suggested. Originally, because they were not familiar with the environment of the Fog Valley, everyone still had concerns and doubts in their hearts. But now, it is confirmed that there is not only a spiritual vein here, but also a huge second-level superior formation. The superiority of the natural environment is almost full, so everyone's confidence has also been greatly improved. But at this time, Zhou Daocheng drank a sip of tea and signaled that everyone should not be anxious. What's wrong, senior? Do you have other ideas? Zhou Daocheng nodded and said, maybe we don't need to proceed according to the original plan. Why? Zhou Daocheng showed a meaningful smile and said, don't forget, everyone, this is an ownerless formation, and the one below is a formation master. As soon as the words fell, the scene was so silent that you could hear a silver needle drop to the ground. Yuan Zhang swallowed. A touch of excitement appeared in the depths of his eyes, and he asked tentatively, then, does the senior mean that he can control a set of formations? Zhou Daocheng looked around, looked into everyone's eyes, and said lightly, it's barely okay, this is a set of maze formations, and you only need to slightly adjust the changes in it to change the original route, thereby changing the three-headed mirage cloud python. Spread out. Can you really control this natural formation? Elder Wei, who was well informed, couldn't help but exclaimed in surprise. Xie Zhouhei also smiled bitterly and sighed. I thought that senior could be lucky enough to find a way to enter the formation. I didn't expect that I could control the formation to a certain extent. The method is really amazing. Zhou Daocheng smiled and waved his hand. For other first-level high-level formation mages, it is indeed difficult to control the second-level formation. However, the knowledge he gained from the fusion formation, through his epiphany focused most on the changes and manipulation of the formations, so he had a unique advantage in these two aspects. Without paying too much attention to the compliments from everyone, Zhou Daocheng made arrangements casually. At that time, we don't need to disperse our actions, we just need to surround and kill a mirage python together. Both the safety and the success rate should be greatly improved. Quote. From 3 people besieging a mirage python to 9 people besieging a mirage python, everyone was suddenly in a trance. The difficulty has been reduced by more than 10 times. After setting up the plan, Zhou Daocheng led everyone directly into the foggy valley through the weak point of the formation. After entering it, everything in front of you seems normal, but it is strange and unpredictable, giving you a great sense of uneasiness. The mist in it seems to be light and floating, no different from ordinary clouds. However, after only walking a few meters, when I looked back, the path I came from had completely disappeared into the mist, as if everything was constantly changing. At this moment, caution appeared on everyone's face. No matter how confident they are in Zhou Daocheng's ability, everyone's rationality keeps reminding themselves that this is a second-level high-grade formation. A top-notch natural maze that can trap a peak foundation building expert to death. Once completely trapped in it, it is likely that he will not be able to get out for the rest of his life and will remain here completely. Zhou Daocheng's expression was also very serious. Although he had memorized the entire pattern of the natural mist formation in his heart, when he actually entered it, he still felt the shocking momentum. However, it is not without any benefits. Walking into a second-level high-grade natural maze in person, walking along the lines of the maze, and gaining an in-depth understanding of the changes and trends in the maze was a huge improvement for Zhou Daocheng. Even Zhou Daocheng's inherent concepts changed at this time. Once upon a time, he more or less believed that attack, defense, and control formations had absolutely higher priority and showed better effects. On the contrary, he scorned the maze array. Except for setting up a set of first-level low-grade mist array when he first came into contact with the formation, he never learned the maze array again. However, only when he truly saw this mysterious and terrifying natural maze did he understand the essence of the maze. The hidden dangers and murderous intentions are no weaker than the killing array. Once you fall into it, it will be even more desperate. Taking this opportunity, Zhou Daocheng can also clearly feel that his understanding of the maze is constantly improving. If one can fully understand this set of natural formations, then in the future, whether it is controlling this set of second-level high-grade natural formations or setting up similar formations of one's own, there will be great progress. As everyone moved forward, they carefully looked around. When Zhou Daocheng glanced at something on the side of the road, his eyes suddenly lit up and he hurried forward. This is a snake slough. It fell next to the gravel. Although it was badly damaged and only a small part, the hugeness of the mirage cloud python could still be seen. Each scale is larger than the size of an adult's hand. Even though it is close to corruption, it still exudes a fierce monster aura. Xie Zhouhei's face showed joy and he said, "This is the slough of the mirage python. It seems that we have found the right place." Wei Hanshan looked solemn as he took the slough of the mirage cloud python and sighed with a hint of horror. "Looking at this size, I'm afraid it's close to a second-order monster." Everyone continued to move forward and picked up other snake sloughs one after another. Some were relatively fresh, and some were withered and corrupted, but there was no doubt that they were all extremely large in size. When they reached a sufficient distance, a complete snake slough suddenly appeared in front of them, like a lifelike python, suddenly straddling in front of everyone, and their hearts stopped for a few seconds in fear. Knowing that no one noticed the breath of life, and seeing that it was just a snake shedding, they breathed a sigh of relief. This snake's slough was extremely fresh and tough. It should have shed its slough recently. It was 7 feet long and extremely large. Zhou Daocheng said seriously, "Everyone, be careful. This place is close to the mirage python's nest. If you are not careful, you will be discovered." As soon as he finished speaking, a low roar came from the distance. The sound was extremely penetrating, with a soul-shaking momentum, and the fog in the entire valley flowed freely with the roar. For a moment, everyone's heart seemed to be strangled, and their breathing could not help but stop for a few seconds. "Be careful, the sound is very close, it should be nearby." Wei Hanshan lowered his voice to remind them, holding the magic weapon in his hand, ready to attack at any time. Zhou Daocheng did not dare to be careless, and immediately controlled the surrounding array patterns to cover everyone with mist to avoid being exposed to the perception of the mirage python. This kind of snake monster is often extremely sensitive, and the whereabouts may be exposed if you are not careful. Zhou Daocheng led everyone, using the cover of the mist to search in the direction where the sound came from. After walking for almost a few hundred steps, the narrow canyon suddenly became open, and a spacious canyon suddenly appeared in front of them, accompanied by the ferocious and savage breath of the monster. A huge gloomy cave appeared on the cliff of the valley in front. At the same time, a thick pale white snake tail swept the ground at will, rolling up a lot of dust and gravel, leaving a lot of traces of friction on the ground. The people shrouded in the mist couldn't help but breathe a little heavier, for fear of disturbing this powerful monster. Yuan Zhang lowered his voice and asked, "Senior, why is there only one mirage cloud python? Where are the other two?" Zhou Daocheng looked calm and said lightly, "It should be somewhere else. There is more than one valley here." "What?" Yuan Zhang was surprised. "There is more than one valley here." Zhou Daocheng glanced at him and said coldly, "Who told you to sleep? When we were on the top of the mountain just now, we could see clearly that this place is formed by a large number of peaks, but the outer peaks are too crowded, so there are steep mountain roads and canyons, and it is difficult to form a spacious valley. But in the center, there are 3 very spacious valleys. The 3 mirage cloud pythons should occupy one each, not stay together." After listening, Yuan Zhang also nodded and said, "Since the 3 mirage cloud pythons are separated in 3 valleys, they must be quite far apart from each other, and support must be more troublesome. Yes, in this way, our plan will be easier to implement." Xie Zhouhei was also surprised. Zhou Daocheng observed quietly and said, "We still need to make some preparations. I will control the formation as much as possible to separate the 3 valleys. Everyone must go all out to kill this mirage cloud python in the shortest time possible." "No problem, Senior, just control the formation, and leave the task of surrounding and killing the mirage cloud python to us." "Yes, 3 against 1 may not be able to win, but 8 against 1 will definitely be no problem." Zhou Daocheng nodded, feeling relieved. If 9 people were chased and beaten by a mirage cloud python, there would be no need to implement the plan, and they could just turn around and go home. Pinching the magic formula in his hand, Zhou Daocheng began to adjust the formation. The clouds and mist broke away from the original trajectory and began to condense in the middle of different valleys, completely isolating them. The roads around the valleys changed slightly after Zhou Daocheng's adjustment. If the 2 mirage cloud pythons continued along the original path, they would be completely trapped in the formation. After doing all this, Zhou Daocheng looked at everyone and said in a low voice, "Attack." The 8 Qi refining level 9 cultivators looked at each other, then took a step forward without hesitation and took out the magic weapons in their hands. Xie Zhouhei took the lead and pinched the magic formula in his hand. Suddenly, a burst of ice cones appeared in the air, filled with icy breath, and continuously hit the tail of the mirage python. The sharp ice cones pierced into the snake's body, leaving large pieces of frost on the hard scales, and pierced into the bone marrow. This is a first-level top-grade spell, and it is also an extremely powerful ice attribute. Zhou Daocheng couldn't help but look at it with admiration. He didn't expect that among the casual cultivators, there were actually strong people with different attributes. Before he could think too much, there was a roar full of anger, which instantly exploded in the entire valley, shocking everyone to take a step back. The mirage python swung its tail in anger, and its thick snake body collided with the cliff next to the cave, causing dust to fly and rocks to fly. "Keep attacking. Don't stop." Xie Zhouhei continued to release ice cones and shouted coldly. The others did not dare to be careless and followed closely. Yuan Zhang held a heavy axe, and a dark stream of light emerged. He chopped down with terrible power in an instant, leaving a deep mark on the mirage python. But this also aroused the anger of the mirage python again. There was a loud bang. The swift and whip-like snake tail instantly whipped Yuan Zhang away, and directly hit the cliff behind him, sinking deeply into the rock. When Zhou Daocheng looked back, there was only a blood mist in the air and a lifelike human outline on the cliff. He didn't care about Yuan Zhang's life or death. After all, it would take a lot of time to dig him out of the stone. Everyone hesitated for only a second, and immediately stepped forward to besiege. The female monk was wandering around the battlefield. Her magic weapon was a long chain with a pair of eerie bone claws at the end of the chain. Her attack was sinister and vicious, and she kept grabbing the snake's body. Lu Chengzhou was a master of poison. Dozens of poison needles were stabbed out one after another, and they penetrated the body from the abdomen where the scales were relatively weak. Although the mirage cloud python did not change for the time being, everyone knew that Lu Chengzhou's poison was definitely not that simple. Wei Lao's spear opened and closed, and his technique was extremely exquisite. Meng Yushin's bone-cutting knife and Lin Yuan's gust of wind spear were equally good. Everyone had the same idea, and they beat the mirage cloud python seriously before it could fully react. Feeling the strong crisis, the mirage cloud python kept whipping with its tail, and after bearing the fierce attack, it struggled to expand the cave entrance. When the space was large enough, it quickly got out of the cave. A huge creature with a silver-white body, scales with white patterns on its body, and a body size of more than 7 feet suddenly appeared in the valley, and its ferocious edge rushed towards them. The cold snake pupils glowed with dangerous light, and it roared at everyone, directly shouting everyone back a step. After the mirage cloud python got rid of the constraints of the cave, it swept through the nearby people at a speed as fast as lightning. Wei Hanshan, Meng Yushin, and Lin Yuan were the first to bear the brunt of the attack by the snake body, and a strong sense of crisis instantly filled their bodies. At the critical moment, Lin Yuan gritted his teeth fiercely, and the golden spear 100-vine formation in his hand quickly spread out, and hundreds of thick thorn vines drilled out of the ground and swept towards the mirage cloud python. Although the thorn vines were far less thick than the mirage cloud python, they were not weaker in strength. They wrapped around the whole body in a short time and controlled it. During the stagnation of the mirage cloud python, it also gave the people around it a chance to breathe and leave the danger area immediately. What a terrifying formation! Wei Hanshan dodged while looking at the hundreds of thorny vines in front of him in shock. Even if his strength reached the peak of the 9th level of Qi refining, it would be difficult to completely block such a dense and terrifying attack. The others also showed surprise on their faces, although they knew that Meng Yushin and Lin Yuan followed the formation master and were likely to have a formation. But when he saw the power of the formation, he still felt daunted. This was already beyond the strength of an ordinary 9th level Qi refining. Seeing that everyone was staring at the formation in a daze, Lin Yuan helplessly cursed, "Why are you staring at it? Get rid of this beast." "Okay, let me do it." Yuan Zhang had already climbed out of the stone and joined the battlefield again with his strong physique. Then when he approached, Wei Hanshan hurriedly shouted, "Be careful, start long-range consumption first." However, as soon as the voice fell, the mirage cloud python exhausted all its strength and broke free from the restraint of the golden spear 100-vine formation, and its sturdy and agile body burst out with terrifying power. At this moment, the twisting snake body whipped out again, directly whipping Yuan Zhang out again. Oh, shit. In the same position, deeper depth, Yuan Zhang embedded himself in the stone without hesitation, and his breath was a little weak. Zhou Daocheng couldn't help twitching at the corner of his mouth. Is this guy just lazy? He made no contribution from beginning to end, and his life was almost gone. However, although Yuan Zhang was hit hard one after another, he still fought with all his strength. Zhou Daocheng still admired his selflessness. However, among the few people, there was one person who made Zhou Daocheng frown. The casual cultivator named Wang Qin, holding a shield magic weapon, was always outside the battlefield, neither attacking nor assisting in defense. And just now, he had the opportunity to help Yuan Zhang block the attack, but he was indifferent and watched him being blown away. This scene made Zhou Daocheng snort coldly, fishing in troubled waters under his nose, and wanting to get something for nothing, that's just dreaming. Zhou Daocheng secretly remembered this person in his heart and planned to settle accounts after the battle. The battle in the field continued. While Yuan Zhang was being blown away, Meng Yushan had already set up the formation. The quicksand formation, based on control, immediately sucked the Mirage Cloud Python the moment it landed. Immediately afterwards, the quicksand technique covered the formation again. The already powerful control effect was further enhanced by 3 points, and with the unstoppable quicksand swallowing effect, the Mirage Cloud Python was sucked to the ground. The huge body sank uncontrollably, and the Mirage Cloud Python showed unimaginable willfulness, twisting strongly and pushing away the quicksand, trying to climb out of the whirlpool. The growing force made even Meng Yushan, who was controlling the formation, feel extremely exhausted, as if he would be freed in the next moment. Everyone, don't hold back, and deal with it as soon as possible, otherwise it will break through the formation, and it will only be more troublesome next time. Zhou Daocheng said coldly. As a bystander, he saw it most clearly. Except for a few people, no one else showed their true strength. Especially Wang Qin, who was always on the sidelines. After hearing Zhou Daocheng's words, the female cultivator no longer held back, and the offensive instantly became a little fiercer. The cultivator surnamed Lu also gave up the means of long-range attack, quickly moved forward, and the poison needle in his hand quickly shot into the eyeball of the Mirage Cloud Python at an extremely tricky angle. Suddenly, a shrill wail resounded through the sky. At the same time, roars began to respond in the other two valleys. Obviously, the other two Mirage Cloud Pythons had discovered the abnormality here. Unfortunately, it was too late. The Golden Spear 100 Vine Formation and the Quicksand Formation cooperated with each other to fully maximize the control effect. At the same time, the poison of the monk surnamed Lu also began to take effect. The Mirage Cloud Python, whose body was tied up, twisted less and less, and its body gradually became stiff. Its eyes, which were full of anger, became drowsy at this moment. Even though it was extremely resentful in its heart, the blood brought endless bloodthirsty thoughts, and it tried to resist before death. However, its body was no longer under its control and was slowly swallowed by the quicksand. Finally, Elder Wei gave the last blow, and the long spear pierced the head of the Mirage Cloud Python, ending its tenacious life. Looking at the huge body of the python, everyone breathed a sigh of relief, and at the same time, joy appeared in their eyes. A complete body of a demon beast with strength reaching the peak of the first grade upper grade, the value represented by it, everyone understood very well. Snake bones, snake scales, snake meat, snake blood, snake gallbladder, are all extremely precious materials of monsters. Whether it is for refining magic tools or cooking meals, they are all very good choices. Everyone, how do you plan to deal with the body of the Mirage Python? The monk surnamed Lu pulled out the poison needle from the snake and asked calmly. After thinking for a while, Xie Zhouhei said, since everyone is acting together, why not distribute it equally? I'm afraid it's not appropriate to distribute it equally. As soon as the voice fell, it was opposed by others. The person who spoke was Zhou Daocheng. Xie Zhouhei was a little surprised, and at the same time, he was a little alert in his heart. Although this formation master has always had a good temper, it is inevitable that he will be greedy when facing the final harvest. This also made him worry and asked, does the senior have any other opinions? Zhou Daocheng did not answer, but cast his eyes on the most inconspicuous person among the crowd, Wang Qin. There were 9 people present, except for the 3 of himself. The other 6 were Xie Zhouhei, Wei Hanshan, Yuan Zhang, Lu Chengzhou, a female monk, and Wang Qin. Zhou Daocheng's cold and calm voice rang through the bronze mask. as an outsider, I controlled the formation and did not participate in the battle, so I saw the situation more clearly. From beginning to end, this fellow Taoist Wang Qin did not participate in the battle, and was always wandering around the battlefield. Until the end, when the Mirage Cloud Python was no longer able to struggle, he stepped forward and stabbed it twice. After the voice fell, Zhou Daocheng looked around and said, I think if it is distributed equally, it may be unfair to others. Hearing this, Wang Qin's face immediately became ugly, and he said, What do you mean, senior? Do you want to bully me, Wang Qin, with your own identity? Bully. Since we are cooperating to hunt the Mirage Cloud Python, everyone should contribute, instead of wandering around the battlefield with shields. Zhou Daocheng snorted coldly, with no intention of giving in. If nothing unexpected happens, the 9 people present will be the founders of this miniature market in the future, and he will never allow anyone to be sneaky among them. Hearing this, Wei Hanshan and others also thought secretly, and found that this person did not participate in the battle, and their faces could not help but become gloomy. In the battle, we are not afraid of teammates like Yuan Zhang. At least no matter how dedicated they are, at least they will fight with all their strength, which makes people feel at ease. But if they hide behind and secretly hold back to accumulate strength, that will make everyone feel uneasy. Wei Hanshan glanced at Wang Qin and said, What the senior said is true. Since you did not participate in the hunting of this Mirage Cloud Python, there is no need to participate in the distribution. Wang Qin's eyes showed a gloomy look. My attacking magic weapon is damaged, and only a first-grade superior shield is left. Do you want Wang to fight the Mirage Cloud Python with his fists? If you don't have the ability to attack and kill, then help with defense. The monk surnamed Lu was not misled by his fallacy and responded coldly. I can't even dodge the Mirage Python's attack. Do you want me to take the initiative to resist it? Do you really think that I, Wang, have a bad mind? Hearing this, Xie Zhouhei couldn't help but frown. The attacking magic weapon was broken and he couldn't attack. The opponent is too strong but dare not defend. This is really unreasonable. In this case, I won't make it difficult for you, where you came from and where you are going back. Zhou Daocheng said lightly. Wang Qin's lowered eyes showed a hint of resentment, but he was able to hide it very well. Senior, I, Wang Qin, am not a treacherous person. I just don't contribute enough in battle. There is no need to expel me, right? Then you will be the main attacker in the next battle. If the attack weapon is damaged, I can lend you one. Zhou Daocheng looked at him and said with a faint smile. Hearing this, seeing that Zhou Daocheng refused to give in at all, Wang Qin's face became more and more gloomy. After hesitating for a moment, he almost gritted his teeth and said, Since senior is deliberately targeting me, then it's okay not to participate in this action. Please allow senior to find a way out. Wang, leave now. Eh? Zhou Daocheng glanced at him coldly, not paying attention to his words. He just flicked his hand and the clouds and mist behind him dispersed, leaving a way to leave. Leave here and don't stay, otherwise don't blame my men for being ruthless. Wang Qin glanced at the crowd and felt unwilling to do so, but he still turned around and disappeared into the mist. His strength is not strong in the first place. He just broke through the 9th level of chi refining and is much weaker than the people present. I originally had the idea of fishing in troubled waters and wanted to make some profit from it. Now that I have been discovered, I naturally have no intention of staying. Zhou Daocheng glanced at him indifferently. His eyes did not change, he just snorted in an inaudible voice and murmured to himself, letting you go is my last chance for you. I hope you can seize it, eh? If he just didn't do anything, there was no need for Zhou Daocheng to use such strong methods to directly drive them away. After all, no matter what, this person is a strong man at the 9th level of chi refining. As long as he stays, he can greatly enhance Feng Shi's strength. It was just some secret discoveries that forced him to deliberately target and nip some possible hidden dangers in the cradle. Speed up the progress and deal with the other 2 Mirage Cloud Pythons as soon as possible. This time the plan will be completed. Wei Hanshan said. During the battle just now, the movement had awakened the other 2 Mirage Pythons, and their roars continued to echo in the valley. If there was no formation barrier, the 2 Mirage Cloud Pythons had already rushed to support, and everyone would not have been able to end the battle so easily. Zhou Daocheng led the way and took the initiative to open the passage to another valley. After passing through a narrow road, a valley appeared further ahead, similar in size to the previous one, except that the vegetation in it was denser and looked lush. A similar mirage cloud python can be seen far away, diving into the fog, spinning back and forth and unable to find an exit. With the first experience, this time the siege was even easier. With the help of the natural mist formation, everyone already had the upper hand, and then added the restraints of the A Golden J100 Vine formation and Quicksand formation to completely contain the mirage cloud python's movements. Finally, everyone attacked at the same time and eliminated the mirage python in a short time. Even the slightly clumsy Yuan Zhang was not whipped away this time. Instead, he chopped the snake's head into pieces with several consecutive axes. It can be regarded as revenge for being whipped away twice before. There were 3 mirage pythons. After taking care of 2 of them, the last one was no longer a concern at all. But when heading to the third valley, Zhou Daocheng frowned secretly and secretly looked in the direction of the first valley. He was keenly aware that the expelled Wang Qin did not leave, but was hidden in a fog, lurking quietly. Although I don't know what he wants to do, there must be an ulterior motive for his behavior. Zhou Daocheng snorted coldly, with a murderous intent appearing in his eyes. At the same time, I couldn't help but regret that I still suffered from my inexperience and did not screen everyone before entering Foggy Valley, which allowed Wang Qin to take advantage of the loophole. This also made the originally perfect plan seem to have a crack at this moment. Let's deal with the last mirage python first. With the second-level high-grade formation guarding it, it shouldn't be a big problem. Zhou Daocheng was thinking this way and decided to finish cleaning up the Foggy Valley first. These 3 valleys are at the core of the mountains in Foggy Valley, arranged in an inverted triangle shape, with the first valley at the front and the other 2 side by side at the back. As he entered it, there was an explosive roar, an angry, violent, and ferocious aura that far surpassed the 2 mirage pythons before. The terrifying and fierce momentum made all 8 people present frown. Meng Yushin couldn't help but sigh. Did this mirage python take the wrong medicine? Why does it feel stronger than before? Lu Chengzhou squinted his eyes and explained carefully. The 2 before were males, but now this one should be a female. It's normal to be a bit fierce. The only female monk raised her eyebrows and said, "Why are you so fierce? Are you discriminating against women?" The corner of Lu Chengzhou's mouth twitched, and he couldn't help but curse. "I'm talking about snakes when I'm riding a horse, are you so excited?" "I'm sorry, Claw Girl is stressed." Yuan Zhang scratched his head and said happily. Immediately afterwards, he was kicked. "Who's talking about the Claw Girl? I'm using a chain claw magic weapon to bother you." With the previous experience of successfully hunting the mirage python, everyone felt much more relaxed at this moment and started to joke. Zhou Daocheng was quite surprised. He didn't expect that there would be boxing in the world of cultivating immortals. However, it is understandable that the number of female monks in the world of immortality is relatively small, and their status is relatively low. Most of them are vassals. It is normal for the status difference between the 2 to be large. However, when Zhou Daocheng saw the situation in the valley, he was too lazy to pay attention to the people behind him, and his eyes were immediately attracted to the situation in the valley. Because behind this mirage python, there is a newly born baby snake. The body was covered in mucus, and it looked like he had just been born. "Mirage python baby!" The exclamation sounded, immediately attracting everyone's attention. When everyone saw this little snake, they all showed a greedy look. Monsters like the mirage cloud python, although powerful and ferocious, are not particularly ferocious in character among snake monsters, and there is a possibility of being domesticated. It is said that some powerful monks once obtained the eggs of the mirage python after hunting them, and finally successfully hatched the cubs and domesticated them to become extremely powerful spiritual beasts. As for monsters like the mirage cloud python, the strongest one can break through to the second level. If it is properly tamed, it is equivalent to a strong foundation builder. So how could everyone not be excited when they saw this scene? It was at this time that Zhou Daocheng finally understood why this female mirage cloud python was so fierce, probably because she had given birth to a cub. Including the other 2 mirage cloud pythons, they were also more ferocious than usual, almost desperate to stop everyone, and had no intention of escaping. And under normal circumstances, the 3 mirage cloud pythons would most likely not stay in the nest at the same time, but would go out to hunt monsters. Now it seems that the source of everything has been found. The recent period is probably an important time for the mirage cloud python to hatch, and all 3 mirage cloud pythons are stationed in the old nest to ensure that nothing goes wrong. But they just happened to be found by everyone and were directly wiped out. Zhou Daocheng also sighed inexplicably. This luck was really too good. Not only did he easily get rid of the 3 Mirage Cloud Pythons, but he also picked up a Mirage Cloud Python cub for free in the end, all of which were great opportunities. Gulp. Yuan Zhang swallowed his saliva and said, "Everyone, do you think we are going to get rich? Don't talk nonsense. Get rid of this beast first." Although Wei Hanshen's eyes were also greedy, he still restrained it well and quickly attacked. The others were not timid either, and almost went forward to attack at the same time. Everyone knew that the Mirage Cloud Python, which had just hatched its cubs, transferred most of its energy to the cubs. Therefore, although this female Mirage Cloud Python looked fierce, it was just strong on the outside and weak on the inside, and its strength was not as good as its heyday. This time, in order to end the battle as soon as possible and avoid accidentally hurting the young Mirage Python, Zhou Daocheng also directly participated in it. The 5 green swords were as fast as lightning, with green light, and they were like arms in the air. In just a few breaths, they seized the opportunity to pierce the head of the Mirage Python and took its life directly. The other people were also looking at this scene in amazement. As early as when they saw the strength of Meng Yushin and the others, they expected that the strength of this formation master must be very strong. Although they didn't know the specific strength, it was conservatively estimated that it would not be worse than Meng Yushin and Lin Yuan at least. However, when they saw it with their own eyes, they were still shocked. Zhou Daocheng's control of the formation is far beyond the reach of ordinary cultivators, and the power he showed is also very different. Just using the A purple chi green sword formation, he has directly crushed the Mirage Python, showing absolute dominance. At this moment, in addition to joy, everyone also felt a sense of fear in their hearts. Among the 8 people present, the force headed by Zhou Daocheng is the most powerful, with 3 9th level Qi refining masters, and all 3 of them have powerful formations to protect themselves. Once a conflict occurs, it is likely that even if 3 fight 5, they will be invincible, and even with the powerful strength of the formation master, they can completely fight back. This is not the point. The most important thing is that they are now in the natural mist formation controlled by Zhou Daocheng. Perhaps he alone can use the power of the 2nd level formation to play with everyone in the palm of his hand. Just like solving the 3 Mirage Pythons, use the formation to divide them, and then break them one by one. When the 5 9th level Qi refining masters thought of this, they couldn't help but secretly nervous, took a step back secretly, and stayed away from Zhou Daocheng and the other 2 with a little vigilance. Just now, everyone could cooperate because they needed to deal with the Mirage Python together, and now that the battle is over, the distribution of benefits is a very troublesome problem. There are many cases where independent cultivators cooperate to hunt monsters. The process of hunting monsters is often very smooth, but when distributing the harvest, swords often fight each other. This is not uncommon. Zhou Daocheng was naturally aware of the behavior of several people, but he just glanced at the 5 people. Zhou Daocheng was naturally very clear about what they were afraid of, but he could only say, "You are really worrying too much." He really didn't plan to subdue all of them. On the one hand, it was the limitation of the spiritual secret method that did not allow him to subdue everyone. On the other hand, the spiritual secret method was only a means after all. Although it had miraculous effects in some cases, it was never the foundation for the development of power. Zhou Daocheng glanced at everyone and said calmly, "Everyone, are you so unsure of my character?" After saying this, the 5 people did not let down their guard, but became more vigilant and asked, "What do you mean, senior?" Zhou Daocheng chuckled and said, "Don't you understand what I mean? Why are those people so nervous? The weather here should not be hot, why are you sweating?" Yuan Zhang swallowed his saliva and scratched his head. "Isn't it just after the fight, and the anger is still not gone? Then I see that your legs are shaking violently, it seems that fellow Taoist Yuan is very weak." Zhou Daocheng said jokingly. Yuan Zhang's face flushed red immediately, and he cursed directly, "You fart. I'm very fierce, otherwise you can ask my claw mother. Get lost, asking me for chicken feathers. And don't fucking call me claw mother." Your cursing behind him made the other 3 people's faces turn green, and their eyelids jumped with anger. The fight didn't happen, but the 2 idiots behind him were about to start fighting each other, which was really embarrassing. Not wanting to bother with Yuan Zhang and the other 2, Wei Hanshen, who had the highest status among the group, took a step forward and said seriously, "Senior, maybe it's a little offensive, but I still want to ask you, do you really not intend to attack us? Or subdue us and take all the gains?" Such questions are also real doubts in everyone's hearts. In the battle just now, they can also see that although the strength of this formation master is very strong, he has not yet reached the foundation building stage. How can a chi refining cultivator face such a huge harvest and still keep his greed in his heart and choose to share it with everyone? In response, Zhou Daocheng's eyes showed a deep look, and he said lightly, "This little harvest is not enough for me to do so. And you are not strong enough for me to subdue by force." After speaking, the scene fell into silence, and the 5 cultivators showed a touch of helplessness on their faces. This really made them feel a little ashamed. "Senior, you are righteous, but I am a mean person." Xie Zhouhei bowed his hands and said apologetically. "No problem," Zhou Daocheng said calmly, "and what you said is indeed correct. I will take the lion's share of the harvest this time. I hope you are mentally prepared. It should be so. Senior has contributed the most, so it is reasonable to distribute more." The atmosphere became harmonious again, and everyone began to count the harvest of this operation. There is no doubt that the harvest this time is enough to make anyone jealous. The value of the 3 Mirage Cloud Python corpses alone is far beyond everyone's imagination. Conservatively estimated, even if only the monster materials are sold, the income will exceed 6,000 spirit stones, and this has not yet added the value of the Mirage Cloud Python cubs and the value of this Fog Valley itself. Otherwise, all these hidden values added together can even make the strong men in the late stage of foundation building jealous. However, when everyone was busy, Zhou Daocheng keenly noticed the abnormality and frowned at the exit of the Fog Valley. As the controller of the formation, although he only mastered a small part of it, he could still barely sense when outsiders entered this natural formation. And just now, he suddenly felt a very strong energy breaking into the formation. Foundation building strongman. In an instant, he realized the strength of the person who came, and his face immediately became ugly. The person who came was familiar with the road, and seemed to have known the route to enter the Fog Valley, and quickly moved forward in the correct direction. Zhou Daocheng's eyes were gloomy, and he already knew who had led this person, because after this person entered the Fog Valley, he went directly to Wang Qin's position, and finally the 2 people's breath overlapped. Sensing the situation in the formation, Zhou Daocheng said to himself, "I have given you a chance to live, but you chose to die. Then don't blame me for being rude." Even according to the original plan, Zhou Daocheng did not intend to let him leave. After all, this person knew the situation in the Fog Valley. If he was allowed to go back and leak this information to the forces in Baihifeng City, it would inevitably cause trouble. Therefore, Zhou Daocheng originally planned to trap this person in the formation and subdue him later as a hidden card. But at this moment, Zhou Daocheng changed his mind. As the magic formula was pinched in his hand, the thick mist surrounding it immediately began to flow, and the originally stable formation patterns suddenly became unpredictable. The people who were sorting out the corpse of the Mirage Cloud Python immediately became alert and looked at the changes in the sky with doubtful eyes. Wei Hanshin and others' eyes were filled with surprise and uncertainty, and they stopped what they were doing, their eyes full of curiosity. Of course, he didn't think Zhou Daocheng would go back on his word and take action against them. He was just purely curious about what the formation master was going to do. Meng Yushin was equally confused. He stepped forward and asked softly, "Master, what happened?" Zhou Daocheng opened his eyes, without hiding it from everyone, and said calmly, "The casual cultivator named Wang Qin did not leave, but came back with a strong foundation building expert." As soon as the words fell, the scene became silent for an instant. First panic and surprise, followed by extreme anger and dissatisfaction. Yuan Zhang gritted his teeth and said, "This beast is mad, I should have killed him directly just now. It was a miscalculation. HMPH, we really shouldn't let him leave. If he ruins our good deeds, it would be no exaggeration to cut him into pieces." The monk surnamed Lu said with a gloomy expression. Regret, anger, dissatisfaction. All kinds of emotions spread among everyone. But fortunately, the people present were all well-educated people. After only panicking for a few seconds, they immediately regained their composure. Wei Hanshin asked in a deep voice, "Senior Formation Master, what should we do next?" Zhou Daocheng raised his eyebrows slightly. "You continue to sort out the harvest, and leave this person to me. Don't you need our help?" "No need, just come to the top of the mountain to find me later." Hearing such an indifferent answer, Wei Hanshin was slightly startled. He didn't expect that this person could still be so calm in the face of a strong foundation builder. Such a confident attitude made Wei Hanshin take a deep look at the purple-robed formation mage with a bronze mask, and his thoughts continued in his mind. This person's methods may be stronger than he imagined. Especially in this natural formation, it is very likely that it can be compared with the strong foundation builders. If there is such a strong man as the leader, then everyone's plan for the micro market may be possible. Wei Hanshin and others were not the only ones to notice the changes in the formation. In a mist-shrouded path, two figures stood here, one of whom was the expelled Wang Qin. At this time, Wang Qin was bending over, licking his smile, and said in a flattering tone, "Senior, this is it. This valley is called Wugu. There should be spiritual veins inside, and the quality should not be low. There are also 3 mirages in it. Pythona A." Wang Qin kept chattering and told all the information he knew. Then the next moment, he was interrupted by a cold voice. "These are not important, where is the formation master?" "Array. Array master." Wang Qin was stunned for a moment, as if he didn't expect that the other party didn't care about spiritual veins and treasures. Instead, he took the lead in asking about the formation master's situation. The foundation building expert glanced sideways, with a hint of coldness flashing across his eyes. "Did you lie to me? There is no formation master here." Feeling the strong killing intent, Wang Qin suddenly broke into a cold sweat and quickly changed his words. Don't dare, the formation master is inside. But sir, don't worry too much. That person is only in the chi refining stage. Even with the help of formations, he is definitely no match for you, sir." The foundation building expert frowned slightly and said coldly, "Can a formation master in the chi refining stage crack the second level high-grade formation?" Wang Qin licked his smile and said disdainfully, "Senior, I think this person's formation skills are very poor. That is to say, he encountered a set of natural formations and luckily found a loophole. His actual level is no more than this. No more than that." There was a hint of coldness in the eyes of the foundation building expert, and he said, "If this was really the case, how could you have noticed my presence as soon as I entered?" Wang Qin's expression suddenly changed, and he quickly raised his head and looked around. "How is that possible? I've been hiding here for so long, and he hasn't been able to find me." Madness. The foundation building expert glanced at him coldly, took a step forward, looked up at the unpredictable clouds and mists in the sky, and felt a trace of fear deep in his eyes. Hearing the curse, Wang Qin did not dare to reply, but remained groveling. It wasn't until the foundation building expert came to the front that he dared to raise his head cautiously. When he saw the graceful figure in front of him, the flattery in his eyes changed, and instead there was a hint of lust and greed. "If I can have sex with this girl, my life, Wang Qin, will not be in vain." However, this thought only appeared for a moment, and Wang Qin immediately dismissed it. He couldn't help but recall the woman's vicious snake-like methods in his mind, and a chill arose in his heart. If Lu Chengzhou is called a poisonous snake, it is because of his vicious poisonous methods and unpredictable poisonous needles. The woman in front of him simply relied on her cold-blooded nature to kill people. Her methods and deeds were as good as many evil cultivators, and even more frightening. Zhou Daocheng also watched the situation in the formation. When he saw the woman, his pupils shrank deeply. This person is tall and wearing a red tight-fitting outfit. His slender buttocks outline perfect curves, giving him a strong sense of muscle strength and fullness. The bright red clothes set off the skin as white as snow, as cold as ice and snow. What is even more eye-catching is that in the snow-white ravine on his chest, a scarlet snake tattoo spread out, spitting out its tongue and extending to the neck, giving people an extremely dangerous atmosphere while also bringing a strange beauty. On the side, Wei Hanshin just climbed to the top of the mountain. When he saw this woman, his pupils immediately contracted and he took a step back in fear. Zhou Daocheng glanced at him lightly, and probably guessed in his heart that the identity of this woman might not be simple. She could not be an ordinary person to make this old man lose his composure. "Old Wei, do you know this woman?" Wei Hanshin swallowed his saliva, and sweat broke out on his forehead. He smiled bitterly and said, "I really didn't expect that Wang Qin, this beast, could actually attract this woman. It's really a bit troublesome. Introduce her." Wei Hanshin considered his words and said with a little fear, "This woman's identity is quite extraordinary. She is an extremely mysterious existence. No one knows her name, and no one knows her true strength. They only know that her methods are cruel, like a red flame venomous snake, so she is called, Flame Charming Snake Princess." Quote. Flame Charming Snake Princess. This name is quite appropriate. Zhou Daocheng smiled, looking at the red snake spitting out its venom on the woman's chest, and roughly understood the origin of the name. Wei Hanshin smiled bitterly and said, "Senior, please be careful. This woman hates others. Looking at the red snake on her chest. There was once a casual cultivator at the first level of foundation building who, relying on his own strength, commented on the red snake on her chest and even flirted with it. As a result, he never appeared again. Zhou Daocheng's expression changed slightly, and he murmured, "Can you kill the first level of foundation establishment?" It seems that this woman has not just broken through foundation establishment. When she first appeared 6 years ago, she was only in her early 20s and already had the foundation building level. Wei Hanshan explained. Then now, it should be possible to reach the second level, or even the third level of foundation building. Fear appeared in Zhou Daocheng's eyes. He didn't expect that a strong foundation building expert he met would have such powerful strength. This casts a shadow on the originally smooth plan at this moment. Let alone the smooth launch of the micro market, it is very difficult to even get out of here alive. Mr. Wei, what is the purpose of this woman coming here? Zhou Daocheng asked. Wei Hanshan thought for a while and speculated tentatively, is it a spiritual vein? Or a mirage python baby? But I have not heard that this woman is deliberately looking for something. Most of the time, the dragon is seen but not its tail. Zhou Daocheng nodded slightly, knowing that he would not get any useful information just by relying on speculation, so he waved his hands and said, "You guys stay in the valley for now, I will deal with this woman." Hearing this, Wei Hanshan hesitated for a few seconds and said, "Senior, this person's strength is unpredictable. Old man, I suggest that if you can escape, it is better to escape as much as possible." Zhou Daocheng said with a half smile, "Is this foggy valley just going to be handed over to others? Keep the green hills here, don't worry about running out of firewood, life is more important than anything else." After saying that, Wei Hanshan said goodbye and left, but his face was equally ugly when he left. At this moment, Zhou Daocheng stood alone on the top of the mountain, wearing a purple robe fluttering in the wind, and his bronze mask was shrouded in thick fog, giving him a mysterious aura. Wei Hanshan said that he already understood how terrifying this woman with the red snake tattoo was, but he still didn't want to give up. In his formation, and it is a second-level high-grade formation, if he is asked to take the initiative to give in, he can't do it. When the magic formula is pinched in the hand, the clouds and mist surge between the sky and the earth, and thousands of changes are reflected in the formation. In the valley at this moment, the woman with the red snake tattoo still stood there with a frosty face, looking at the surrounding environment. She could clearly feel that there was a huge crisis hidden around her, and everything was changing and unpredictable. And through the shrouded fog, she seemed to be able to see a pair of big hands, moving the operation of this natural formation. Even as a strong person in the foundation building stage, she found it extremely difficult. What an exquisite formation method. The woman's cold eyes fluctuated with a strange expression. After just thinking for a few seconds, the woman raised her slender legs, stepped into the fog, and took the initiative to fall into this ever-changing situation. Such behavior showed confidence and arrogance, which made Zhou Daocheng, who controlled the formation, frown. Zhou Daocheng's eyes narrowed slightly and he murmured to himself, "You know this is my territory, but you still dare to break in. Who gave you such confidence?" Zhou Daocheng knew that there might be a tough battle to be fought soon. Even with the protection of this second-level high-grade formation, there was still a huge threat. With this in mind, Zhou Daocheng also cheered up and took out a large amount of spiritual honey from his storage bag, ready to replenish his physical strength at any time to face this life-and-death battle. At the same time, he stared at the two people in the formation, not daring to be careless and calculating the meaning of every move they made. Because he understood that if he was a strong person with a high enough level, he could easily break the formation while strolling in the courtyard. It is an absolute crushing of realms. However, after Zhou Daocheng concentrated on observing for half an hour, his expression suddenly became strange. He scratched his head inexplicably, and looked at the expression of the woman in the formation with a hint of confusion. Because during this half hour, this naked and tattooed woman kept spinning around in the formation. Not only did she not understand the formation, she was completely clueless, no different from ordinary people. However, Zhou Daocheng was still worried about the other party hiding his strength. Therefore, the local formation changes were further adjusted to increase the difficulty of getting out of the formation. But the result still hasn't changed. Zhou Daocheng raised his eyebrows, looking a little weird, and murmured to himself, "Is it possible that she really doesn't understand the formation? Impossible. If she doesn't understand it at all, why would she dare to walk into it so confidently?" Zhou Daocheng looked increasingly puzzled. From the beginning to the end, the woman with the red snake tattoo always had a frosty face, with a cold, arrogant and calm expression. Her slender legs walked in the formation, and she was extremely confident in every step, with almost no hesitation. If Zhou Daocheng hadn't been knowledgeable, he would have been deceived by her appearance. For a moment, Zhou Daocheng was speechless, sitting on the top of the mountain board, watching the two people walking in the formation. After a long time, Zhou Daocheng vaguely discovered that this flame snake lady might really not understand any formations and did not understand the changes in the formations at all. And she didn't seem to intend to leave the formation. Instead, she kept sensing the position of Zhou Daocheng, the formation master, in the formation, and tried to find it. When the two were closest, they were only tens of meters apart. But due to the changes in the formation, Zhou Daocheng forcibly led her to another place. As the two gradually moved away, Zhou Daocheng could clearly see that the woman frowned slightly, as if she was confused. Zhou Daocheng was greatly puzzled by this discovery. In this formation, you don't want to break away from the formation, but you actually try to find the position of the formation master. Isn't it too naive? Or maybe this woman has other plans. No matter what the reason, facing such a powerful foundation building expert, Zhou Daocheng did not dare to relax at all and always maintained a high level of vigilance. He believed that the other party could not stay in his formation all the time, and changes would happen sooner or later. And the changes he expected also appeared as he wished when night fell. As the sky gradually darkened, the night enveloped the sky, and the foggy valley became even more gloomy. The cold wind passed through the canyon, sweeping the light clouds and mist, making this valley shrouded by the formation even more weird. The foundation building woman with the red snake tattoo looked up at the sky, and a strange look appeared in her eyes. Zhou Daocheng vaguely saw worry and thought in this look. Then, in Zhou Daocheng's surprised eyes, the red snake-tattooed woman turned around without hesitation, condensed a strong aura in her palm, and slapped Wang Qin's chest with one palm. Bang! Boom! Wang Qin was shocked. He didn't have time to react before the blazing flames covered his chest, followed by a smell of charcoal. In just one breath, the 9th-level Qi refining expert fell down in a daze, without a breath left. After doing all this, the woman with the red snake tattoo withdrew her hand indifferently and turned away. This time, she did not continue to wander around the valley, but went straight to a thick cliff and simply dug out a small cave. Zhou Daocheng was also stunned for a moment, as if he didn't understand the other party's intention. Is this planning to live in his own formation? And all the doubts reached their peak at midnight. Although the woman with the red snake tattoo entered the cave, Zhou Daocheng still clearly sensed her and monitored her. And the next scene changed his calm eyes. When midnight came, the woman with the red snake tattoo suddenly frowned, and the hot spiritual energy in her body fluctuated violently, like a volcano about to erupt. Even Zhou Daocheng stood up from the top of the mountain very sensitively, not only looking deeply at the cave where the woman with the red snake tattoo was. What a terrifying fluctuation! What does she want to do? However, when he saw the scene in the cave, he couldn't help but frown deeply. The woman with the red snake tattoo half squatted on the ground, with blue veins bulging on her white neck, as if she was enduring intense pain. A lot of sweat came out, and her black hair was completely soaked in sweat, scattered and attached to her neck, back and temples. Then, the terrifying fire-attributed spiritual energy in the body emerged uncontrollably from the surface of the skin, evaporating all the sweat that came out, and also burning the red tights. Zhou Daocheng could see that the clothes the woman wore were of good quality, but they had no resistance to the flames and were all burned. The woman with the red snake tattoo was half kneeling on the ground, her perfect curves were slightly embarrassed, and her fair skin was stained with a layer of red, which was clearly visible in Zhou Daocheng's eyes. What was even more eye-catching was the red snake tattoo on the woman's chest. The agile snake body was actually emitting a bright red light at this moment, and mysterious patterns appeared on the snake body, flickering in the dim cave. The red snake pupils emitted a gloomy light, like a real spirit snake, exuding a chilling breath. And the flames emitted from the woman with the red snake tattoo seemed to come from this red snake. But at this moment, she could no longer control her own power. As the clothes covering the tattoo were completely burned, this extremely beautiful red snake tattoo was also completely revealed in front of him. No, Zhou Daocheng was surprised to find that it might not be called a red snake tattoo, but a double snake tattoo. Because there is not only one red snake, but two snakes. The snake body spreads from the shoulders and arms, swimming in the clouds and mist, and spreads to the chest and abdomen. The red snake tattoo on the left arm spreads from the left side to the top of the chest, showing the posture of a red snake spitting out its tongue, and the red tongue extends to the top of the clavicle. The ice snake tattoo on the right side is also symmetrical with the left side, spreading from the right arm downward, passing by the red snake on the left side, and spreading to the lower abdomen. A red snake and an ice snake form this perfect double snake tattoo, which is weird and extremely beautiful, making people unable to look away for a long time. At least Zhou Daocheng can't look away for the time being. Under normal conditions, the red snake tattoo looks like just an ordinary tattoo. But at this moment, as the fire attribute aura continued to surge throughout the body, the red snake's nimble body flickered, showing complex and fine lines, densely covering the snake's body. Indistinctly, Zhou Daocheng seemed to see the shadow of the array pattern in it. What a wonderful tattoo! What on earth is this? Zhou Daocheng stared at it, unwilling to leave for a moment. The wonderful changes in it made him unable to extricate himself for a while. And this scene lasted for a whole hour. The woman with the red snake tattoo has gone from half kneeling to now completely crawling on the ground. The pain of the flames burning her body made her tense muscles twitch slightly uncontrollably. When the flames gradually converged into her body, the woman with the red snake tattoo half lying on the ground, breathing in fresh air, her chest constantly rising and falling, driving the exquisite double snake tattoos all over her body. At this time, the red snake tattoo has returned to its original state, and the complicated lines have disappeared, but Zhou Daocheng still did not retract his eyes, just frowned and stared blankly. The woman with the red snake tattoo seemed to sense Zhou Daocheng approaching, and her cold eyes looked outside the cave, her slightly haggard eyes still exuding a sense of coldness. However, she did not choose to drive him away, but quietly lay on the ground, as if everything was not over yet. Another hour later, Zhou Daocheng vaguely sensed that an extremely cold breath was drifting, which made him shudder. The red snake tattoo on the upper body of the woman with the red snake tattoo kneeling on the ground had subsided, but the ice snake tattoo on the lower body was ready to move at this moment. The icy blue light appeared on the body of the agile little snake, and between the looming, the extremely cold breath began to emerge from the body surface. Having just experienced the extreme heat, the body was in extreme weakness, and now it was eroded by the cold power. The woman's muscles twitched uncontrollably, consciously resisting the cold. But the effect was minimal. The cold air seeped out from the surface of the skin, forming ice crystals on the body surface, and the extreme coldness enveloped the whole body. The woman with the red snake tattoo had enough strength to resist the flames of the red snake before, but now facing the ice snake, she had no strength at all and could only be forced to endure it. Even her originally strong aura was a little weak at this moment, and her originally cold eyes began to become dazed at this moment. Under the erosion of such a terrifying force, even this foundation-building strongman seemed to be unable to resist. Her strength was now gone. After half an hour, the woman with the red snake tattoo was already dying. Zhou Daocheng's eyes wrinkled slightly, and he slowly walked out of the mist. The purple robe was also stained with a layer of frost under the frosty atmosphere. The bronze mask with a simple outline was covered with a layer of ice blue frost, which actually had a unique beauty. Zhou Daocheng walked forward slowly and walked into the cave covered with ice. The soles of his shoes stepped on the ice chips, making a slight friction sound. The woman with the red snake tattoo seemed to notice the visitor and opened her eyes with difficulty. There was still no emotion in the depths of her eyes. She just looked at the visitor coldly and was unable to do anything else. Zhou Daocheng did not say much. He took out a wooden barrel from the storage bag and put a pack of fire-burning cloud medicine pack into it. Then he used spiritual energy to boil the clear spring, mixed it with spiritual spring liquid and some second-level spiritual liquid. It was a red bath with steam rising, like the flowing sky glow, exuding a hot breath. Zhou Daocheng leaned over, picked up the woman on the ground, and put her into the fire cloud bath. When the frost came into contact with the boiling hot water, it slowly thawed. The stiff body of the woman with the red snake tattoo gradually became soft again. But the extreme coldness could not be suppressed even by a whole pack of fire cloud medicine pack. The red medicinal power was constantly absorbed, and the temperature of the hot water with boiling hot water became lower and lower. Zhou Daocheng frowned and continued to heat the water to keep it hot. Although the coldness brought by the ice snake could not be completely eliminated, it could be suppressed to a certain extent, so that a thick layer of ice would not form on the body surface. After only a dozen minutes, the red snake woman slowly opened her eyes. Her lifeless eyes were still cold, but more powerless and haggard. She just glanced coldly at the person in front of her, and then slowly closed her eyes. Zhou Daocheng did not speak either. He looked at the pattern on the ice snake tattoo carefully through the gradually clear water surface. This process lasted for more than half an hour. Finally, the ice snake gradually restrained its breath, absorbed the cold air back into its body, and everything returned to calm. And Zhou Daocheng was still immersed in the mysterious double snake pattern, unable to extricate himself for a long time. After a long time, a hoarse and cold voice sounded, "Young array master, have you seen enough?" Zhou Daocheng was not surprised. He knew that the woman had woken up long ago. He said lightly, "It is indeed shocking that it is ingenious. Can you understand the lines in the tattoo?" Zhou Daocheng shook his head slightly. "It is too complicated. It is impossible to see such complicated lines in an hour." The woman with the red snake tattoo slowly opened her eyes and glanced at Zhou Daocheng coldly. "The lines have disappeared, so what are you looking at now? Even if there are no lines, this is a work of art in itself." Zhou Daocheng's eyes were indifferent, and his eyes were deep under the bronze mask. The next moment, he stretched out his hand for some reason and slowly touched the tattoo in the tightened pupils of the woman with the red snake tattoo. Following the ups and downs of the small snake tattoo, Zhou Daocheng seemed to be able to feel the powerful energy contained in it. The extremely obscure lines were engraved under the skin and would only appear when the spiritual energy was strong. "As a formation master, what do you think of this pattern?" A cold voice sounded, and the breathing was slightly heavy. Zhou Daocheng's eyes were completely immersed in the tattoo, and he didn't care about the woman's question. "Lift your arm, let me see it." The red snake tattooed woman glanced at him coldly, raised her right arm slightly, and the complete tattoo pattern appeared in front of her. "Is that enough?" Zhou Daocheng nodded slightly, withdrew his hand and said, "Okay, please." The red snake tattooed woman slowly put down her arm and stood up from the wooden barrel generously. Her tall figure was almost the same as Zhou Daocheng. She raised her legs and stepped out of the wooden barrel. The fire attribute aura evaporated the moisture on her body, and then put on a set of the same red tights. At the same time, a slightly hoarse voice asked, "Formation Master, you should have guessed why I came to you, right? For this tattoo. Yes, you have seen it with your own eyes. Is there a way to crack this tattoo?" Zhou Daocheng smiled faintly. "In order to let me see this tattoo, the girl has paid a lot, eh?" The woman with the red snake tattoo looked at him coldly and said calmly, "Then you should also know that things are not for nothing. If you can't give me a satisfactory answer, you should know the consequences." Quote. Ahem. Zhou Daocheng coughed awkwardly a few times, and then he remembered that the person in front of him was a foundation building expert known as Flame Charm Snake Princess. In her prime, she could almost kill herself with a slap, but now that she has been eroded by ice and fire, her strength has been greatly reduced. "Senior Flame Charm Snake Princess, you think too highly of me. How can I crack the secrets hidden in this set of tattoos? Then you plan to see it for nothing." Ah, Zhou Daocheng was speechless. "Didn't you come to see it? Why do you blame me?" But thinking of the other party's strength, Zhou Daocheng still thought carefully and organized his words. "It's not that I don't want to help, it's just that I have the will but not the strength, and there are more than just array patterns in this set of tattoos." The woman with the red snake tattoo stared coldly, wondering, "More than array patterns, what do you mean?" "Some of the patterns in your double snake tattoos do come from array skills, but there is another part, which should come from talismans and refining techniques." Talismans and refining. The woman with the red snake tattoo was stunned, and she never expected such an answer. In order to crack the tattoo on her body, she has been looking for clues everywhere for many years, and barely found the part that matches the array. That's why she tried to find an array master to help crack this tattoo, remove the influence of the tattoo on her, or completely control it. But Zhou Daocheng's answer undoubtedly increased the difficulty several times, which made her frown. "You didn't lie to me." Zhou Daocheng stood with his hands behind his back, looking through the bronze mask and looking at the lifelike snake head on his chest again, but this time he didn't have any frivolous intentions. His eyes were full of solemnity, and he said, "I don't need to lie to you, and if I guess correctly, you should have practiced a set of physical training exercises, right?" "How do you know?" Red Snake Tattoo asked in surprise, and doubts appeared on his cold face. "That's right," Zhou Daocheng murmured to himself, and a look of understanding appeared in the depths of his eyes, with a hint of surprise. After more than an hour of observation, Zhou Daocheng didn't know much information from the tattoo, and could only make a rough analysis and guess based on his understanding. Because the lines in it are very complicated, They are not clear-cut, but various lines are mixed together to form a natural whole. He had to peel off that part of the formation and form a separate formation pattern before he could barely understand it. He was able to do this because of the help of epiphany and understanding, otherwise it would be difficult to do it. But it is also because of this that, after an in-depth analysis of the double snake tattoo, Zhou Daocheng came to a surprising conclusion, a conclusion that even he found impossible. So at this moment, his gaze towards the double snake tattoo was so complicated and tangled. If his guess was true, it would be too scary. The woman with the red snake tattoo stared at Zhou Daocheng's gaze and said, "Boy, why can you guess that I practice body refining techniques? Have you discovered something?" Senior Yan Mei Snake Ji. Don't call me that name. It's just a random name given by outsiders. Just call me Red Snake. The woman with the red snake tattoo frowned. Zhou Daocheng nodded, not caring too much, and said, "Senior Red Snake, if I guess correctly, the double snake tattoo on your body should be a fusion of 3 immortal cultivation techniques: formation, talisman, and magic weapon. Then, what is the purpose of carving this tattoo?" Zhou Daocheng turned his head and looked at the cold and beautiful woman in front of him, and said meaningfully, "If I guess correctly, someone wants to refine you into a talisman treasure." The pupils of the woman with the red snake tattoo shrank suddenly. A talisman is a type of talisman, extremely precious, and the lowest quality is at the 2nd level. It is a talisman that is engraved by a late-stage foundation building cultivator who has powerful spells and refined into a talisman that can be used multiple times by future generations, and burst out with power that is no weaker than that of the cultivator when he was alive. Many cultivators from powerful families will use this method to leave talismans before they die to enrich the family's heritage. Tattoos and talismans, 2 completely different things, are brought up at the same time at this time. After Zhou Daocheng finished speaking, the woman's eyes suddenly shrank, and her calm breath began to float again. "You sure?" Zhou Daocheng said lightly. 2 snake patterns, 1 ice and 1 fire, should contain these 2 extremely powerful spells. Someone used the method of carving talismans, using the body of the senior as a talisman to carve. Then, use the weapon refining technique to stabilize it, and combine it with the body refining technique to integrate the skin and tattoo into one, forming an existence similar to a talisman. As for the formation, Zhou Daocheng paused. The formation is only used for control to prevent the 2 spells from getting out of control. Otherwise, with the strength of the senior, it should not be possible to suppress the 2 spells. Hearing this, Red Snake lowered his eyes and had no intention of refuting, but fell into deep thought for a long time. Zhou Daocheng didn't bother him. When he guessed the result, he was also shocked and didn't want to believe it for a long time. After all, it is truly incredible to refine a monk's body into a talisman. And this woman with the red snake tattoo must have a past that she doesn't know about. After a long time, the woman with the red snake tattoo raised her head, her expression returned to indifference, and said, "Then do you have a way to remove the tattoo, or contain the energy in the tattoo?" "It's difficult, very difficult." Zhou Daocheng told the truth. "It's difficult. But at least it means it's not impossible." Zhou Daocheng thought about it and said, "Maybe, there is a solution to everything." The woman with the red snake tattoo looked calmly, looking at the thick clouds and mist in the sky, seemingly lost in thought. A few seconds later, an indifferent voice said, "Boy, do you plan to build a market here?" "Good. It is not easy to build a city. You have to deal with the 2nd-level monsters that may exist around you, as well as the open and secret attacks of human monks. It is difficult for you to do it without a strong foundation builder." Zhou Daocheng thought for a while, nodded slightly and said, "Indeed, the value of a city is greater than imagined. The foundation building forces in Baihifeng City will not let this happen easily." These days, he has been thinking about the micro market. The benefits brought by the market are quite large. How can a group of chi refining casual cultivators be able to touch them? The only support in Zhou Daocheng's hands is this 2nd-level high-grade formation, and his eldest brother Zhou Daobai, who may break through to the foundation building stage. But these 2 trump cards are still a bit weak after all. At this time, the woman with the red snake tattoo took the initiative to mention it, which also aroused Zhou Daocheng's curiosity. "Senior Red Snake, do you have any good opinions?" The woman with the red snake tattoo turned around and said with cold eyes, "I will help you station in this valley, and you can help me find a solution to the double snake tattoo." Zhou Daocheng was stunned for a moment, frowned and thought for a while, and said, "Senior Red Snake, although I looked at your body and touched it by the way, it was because of helplessness. You can't rely on me. Otherwise, I let go of the formation. How about you leave now? Although the offer of the woman with the red snake tattoo was very tempting, Zhou Daocheng did not let the benefits get to his head. The protection of a strong foundation builder certainly moved his heart, but the existence of the double snake tattoo engraved in the seal made him even more fearful. It is a conservative estimate that the person who can use such a sophisticated method to carve this tattoo of ice and fire snakes must be at least at the peak of foundation building, or even the Zifu. Once you get too involved with this woman, you will inevitably encounter serious trouble in the future. Moreover, he would rather face the real difficulties in the process of establishing a market than the mysterious crisis that is beyond his control. The woman with the red snake tattoo was quite surprised. She didn't expect this person to refuse so decisively. Boy, the existence of the tattoo carved in the seal is not within the Qingshan sect. You don't need to worry about this. Senior, there is no need to say anything more. Senior, please leave. Boy, do you think I'm giving you a face? A cold murderous intent appeared in the eyes of the woman with the red snake tattoo. Well, Zhou Daocheng paused, then remembered the other party's identity and strength. Looking at the current posture, it seems that as long as he does not agree, the first problem he will face is the Yanmei snake lady in front of him, whose strength has reached the second or even third level of foundation establishment. Although the opponent is weak now, he is still a strong foundation builder after all. Maybe the opponent can't do anything to him in the formation, but if the opponent is determined to take action, he can directly flatten all the mountains here, and then the formation will naturally be broken without attacking. After thinking deeply for a long time, Zhou Daocheng kept weighing the pros and cons in his mind, but he never found a suitable solution. Finally, he looked at the woman in front of him helplessly and said, "Senior, you can stay, but you need to agree to 3 conditions." The woman with the red snake tattoo said coldly, "You say it, but I suggest you pay attention to your discretion. Don't worry, first of all, Senior can't leave Wugu at will. I don't want you to come back with your enemies. No problem. Besides, my physical condition does not allow me to leave often." Zhou Daocheng nodded. He also believed that if ice and fire attacks occurred frequently like today, then she would often fall into weakness, which would require a long period of recuperation, and naturally she would not leave easily. Second, give me 3 opportunities to order you 3 times a year, and you must agree to it unconditionally. As soon as he finished speaking, he was greeted by a pair of cold eyes. Do you think I will agree? Zhou Daocheng explained. It won't go too far. The most it can do is kill people or protect people. Once a year, if it's too much, I'll refuse. Okay. Zhou Daocheng agreed happily and continued. Third, if the senior needs me to crack the formation in the double snake tattoo, I need to further study the tattoo. The woman with the red snake tattoo stared at the purple-robed man in front of her quietly. After a long time, she said lightly, "Boy, do you want to take advantage of me blatantly? Ahem, I have a pure heart and integrity. I never do evil things. I have a family and will never do beastly things. I hope the senior can rest assured." Zhou Daocheng said seriously. At this moment, his face was full of 2 words: integrity. The woman with the red snake tattoo did not speak, still looked at him coldly, and then turned and walked into the fog. Finally, she left a sentence. "I will live in this valley in the future, you leave me a place to stay." No problem, but senior, I don't know if I should say something. Say it. You are going in the direction of the exit, or you come back first. The woman with the red snake tattoo. At dawn, Zhou Daocheng returned to the depths of the foggy valley. Also returning was the woman with a red snake tattoo, known as the Flame Snake Princess. When they saw this person for the first time, almost all the casual cultivators held their breath for a second, cold sweat broke out from their temples, and their breathing became lighter. Senior, this. Zhou Daocheng did not say much, but calmly ordered, "From now on, Senior Chish will protect the safety of Fog Valley, and the 3rd valley will be given to you to live in. Do you understand?" Understood. Everyone fell into a daze. Fear, curiosity, doubt, all kinds of emotions filled their minds. Even Meng Yushan and Lin Yuan were puzzled by the situation in front of them, and they could not figure out what happened even if they scratched their heads. The crisis of life and death originally ended with the participation of a foundation-building expert. And this foundation-building expert was the murderous and vicious Yan Mei Snake Princess, which made them dare not breathe. The woman with the red snake tattoo glanced at everyone and did not care about these casual cultivators at all. She just showed up, then looked at Zhou Daocheng and said lightly, In the future, no one except you will be allowed to enter the valley where I live." Ignoring the surprised looks of others, Zhou Daocheng nodded and said, "Don't worry, your existence is top secret and no one will disturb you." The woman with the red snake tattoo nodded slightly, then turned and walked towards the direction of the third valley. The so-called third valley is the residence of the female mirage cloud python. Compared with the first two valleys, this valley is relatively small in area and more hidden. It must pass through the first two valleys to find this place. So it is understandable to arrange the woman with the red snake tattoo here. After she entered, Zhou Daocheng directly controlled the formation to isolate the valley to ensure that outsiders could not enter it. After doing all this, Zhou Daocheng turned his head to look at the stunned people and said, "The existence of Senior Red Snake will be the biggest secret of Fog Valley. Please don't spread it." Of course, Yuan Zhang spoke a little unsteadily. Wei Hanshan also said, "Senior, don't worry. We still know our limits." Xie Zhouhei smiled bitterly and spread his hands, saying, "Even if you don't tell us about this existence, we dare not tell anyone." Zhou Daocheng raised his eyebrows. He didn't expect that the flame-charming Snake Queen would be so fierce. Just showing up made everyone present silent. But it's good to do so. It can be regarded as adding a shackle to everyone. Zhou Daocheng said no more, but turned his attention to the harvest this time. The bodies of the three mirage pythons have been collected and piled up in the second valley. Just seeing these three huge monsters made him feel surprised. 3 first-grade top-grade monster bodies, the value represented by them is enough to make everyone excited. Zhou Daocheng was not polite and directly arranged Meng Yushan to divide them. Most of the materials on the mirage python are of great value, including snake scales, snake meat, snake blood, and snake bones. The most valuable of them is undoubtedly the extremely hard scales. If it is refined into a defensive magic weapon, the value can be doubled. Zhou Daocheng collected all the snake scales and snake bones and planned to hand them over to the family's weapon refiner to refine the magic weapon. Everyone had no objection to this. After all, Zhou Daocheng contributed the most to successfully completing this task. Whether it is the second-level top-grade maze or the first-level top-grade, Golden Spear 100 Vine Formation, and Quicksand Formation, they are the main forces in this battle and played a vital role. So it is understandable that Zhou Daocheng took the lion's share. As for the snake blood and snake meat, Zhou Daocheng was not too greedy, but distributed them equally to everyone present. Even so, everyone still felt that they had made a lot of money. This kind of monster flesh and blood rich in spiritual energy is also very precious in the cultivation world. If it is eaten frequently, it will be of great benefit to improving strength. Especially for weaker chi refining cultivators, the meat of the top-grade monsters of the first level is not much different from elixirs, and even has better effects. So these flesh and blood are a very good choice for everyone, whether they are eaten or sold after the establishment of the market. However, the corpse of the Mirage Cloud Python is not the biggest gain this time. Since entering the Fog Valley, Zhou Daocheng has discovered a situation that makes him extremely confused. That is, he did not find the existence of spiritual veins in this Fog Valley. What's even more strange is that in the entire Fog Valley, the spiritual energy is not weak, and the concentration of spiritual energy in each piece of air is the same, all reaching the second level of the lower grade. This situation is simply incredible and makes him completely unable to understand. However, when he conducted a carpet search around the Fog Valley, he accidentally found 2 things, which made him suddenly realize. There are actually many fog spirit grasses growing around the nest of the Mirage Cloud Python. The mist spirit grass is a second-level spiritual medicine, extremely rare and precious, and is also an extremely rare treasure in the world of immortal cultivation. This kind of spiritual grass has only one function, which is to continuously generate spiritual energy and then release it into the air. If a mist spirit grass is planted in a cave, the overall spiritual energy concentration will inevitably increase significantly, just like a blessed land. In this Fog Valley, Zhou Daocheng actually found 8 mist spirit grasses, and the quality of all of them reached the second level, and even 3 of them have reached the second level middle quality. In this way, it can also be understood why there is such a rich spiritual energy in this Fog Valley even though there is no spiritual vein. On the one hand, it is the mist spirit grass that generates spiritual energy. On the other hand, it is because this natural formation is filled with extremely dense clouds and mist, which locks all the spiritual energy inside and creates an environment with rich spiritual energy. The spiritual energy generated by the mist spirit grass, combined with the mist here, will further enhance the power of the formation. The two complement each other, creating the magical valley of Fog Valley in this extremely coincidental way. And this harvest is not over yet. While discovering the mist spirit grass, Zhou Daocheng also found another rare treasure of heaven and earth, Fog Breath Stone. A second-level treasure of heaven and earth, this ore can create clouds and mist, and is an excellent formation material, suitable for arranging mazes. The fact that Fog Valley can condense such dense fog is also inseparable from the existence of Fog Breath Stone. Moreover, after Zhou Daocheng checked, he found that there were quite a few Fog Breath Stones, which was a small Fog Breath Stone vein with various qualities of Fog Breath Stones. Such a discovery really surprised everyone. The value of the Mist Breath Stone and the Mist Spirit Grass is only higher than that of the 3 Mirage Cloud Pythons, especially the Mist Spirit Grass, each of which is equivalent to a small spiritual vein. If it were to flow into the market, it would definitely be snatched up by a large number of family forces, and even the foundation building forces would be jealous and make a move. When summarizing the harvest this time, everyone showed an expression of disbelief. 3 Mirage Cloud Python corpses, 1 Mirage Cloud Python baby, 8 second-level Fog Spirit Grasses, a small Fog Breath Stone vein, and a second-level high-grade natural maze. If strictly speaking, the woman with the red snake tattoo can be considered one of the gains this time. Any one of these gains alone is enough to make the foundation building monks go crazy. At the same time, Wugua's excellent conditions in all aspects have also laid a solid foundation for the construction of the micro market. Next, everyone also made a rough division of these 3 valleys. The first valley is located on the outermost edge of the 3 valleys, with the largest area and flat and empty terrain. Therefore, after discussion, it was decided to use this place as the main body of a micro market and build shops and other buildings for daily transactions. The second valley is slightly smaller than the first valley, but the soil here is moist and it is also where the Mist Breath Stone and Spirit Mist Grass exist, so the aura environment is better. After discussion, everyone decided to cultivate a spiritual field here in open caves on the surrounding rock walls. These spiritual fields and caves are most desired by casual cultivators from all walks of life. They can be rented or sold to obtain a large amount of spiritual stones. As elders, everyone present will be assigned a certain share and occupy a part of the spiritual field and cave. Whether it is for your own residence or use, or for sale or lease to other monks, you can freely arrange it. However, no matter how we arrange it, that is a matter for later. The most important thing now is how to open the market. First of all, in the first valley, it is necessary to make a preliminary layout and build shops, so that the city can at least take shape. This matter was left to Xie Zhouhei, who was well connected. Secondly, the promotion of the micro market is also particularly important. Only when there are enough monks coming and going can the market develop smoothly. And this thing requires everyone's efforts. Wei Hanshan, Xie Zhouhei, Lu Chengzhou, Yuan Zhang, the female monk, Meng Yushan and Lin Yuan returned to the vicinity of Baihifang City together and began to use their own connections to spread the Minifang market. They are all 9th-level qi refining experts. They have quite a reputation in the surrounding area and have made many friends over the years. Therefore, when they started to promote the micro market at the same time, they immediately aroused the interest of many casual cultivators. Especially during the recent period, Baihifang City has been affected by the war, and prices have fluctuated wildly, which has long made people complain. Therefore, when Wuguifang City began to be promoted, it immediately attracted the attention of many people and brought hope to many down and out casual cultivators. However, they also need to face a problem, that is, how to travel dozens of days to the relatively more dangerous Wuguifang City. There are only 2 solutions to this problem. First, clear the dangers along the way and create a safe path. Secondly, there is something in Wuguifang City that makes everyone flock to it, giving the casual cultivator enough motivation to go there. But no matter which one it is not easy to achieve, which is a big challenge for everyone. As for these problems, Zhou Daocheng naturally did not worry too much and left them all to others. As for himself, he stayed in the Foggy Valley to further improve the environment here. The first is this second-level fog formation. Although since entering the Foggy Valley, Zhou Daocheng seems to have command of this formation like an arm, turning his hands into clouds, almost everything is under control. But in reality, his control over the formation is very low. After all, he is only a first-level high-grade formation mage, and his control over the formation and depth of his understanding are far from enough. Therefore, he must further deepen his control and ensure that the entire Foggy Valley is under his control. But this matter is very difficult. Given his level of formation skills, it is impossible to jump directly from the level of a first-level high-level formation master to a second-level high-level formation master. Therefore, all he can do is to use time to polish it, continue to figure out the lines and changes of the formation, and deepen his understanding of this formation. And this realization lasted for a whole month. Sitting cross-legged on the highest mountain in the foggy valley, overlooking all the changes in the formation, letting the clouds and mist envelop the spiritual energy flow freely, and feeling the rhythm of it. After many days, when he opened his eyes again, a deep color flashed in his eyes, and the mysterious lines were engraved in his mind. When he calmed down and came to his senses, he was surprised to find out. He was originally only at the peak of the 8th level of Qi refining, but he had successfully broken through to the 9th level of Qi refining without knowing it, and was completely stable. Zhou Daocheng chuckled and murmured to himself, I didn't expect that this realization would take so long. Fortunately, the surrounding spiritual energy is rich, otherwise I would have starved to death here. But the gain this time was not small. Although his formation skills were not greatly improved, it gave him a deeper understanding of the mist formation in front of him. If we say before, he could only control 5% of this formation. At this moment, his control strength can reach about 20%. Don't underestimate this 20%, because this represents 20% of the power of a second-order high-grade formation. At least in Zhou Daocheng's opinion, just 20% of the control power can give him the strength to compete with the strong foundation builders in the formation. Of course, the premise is that the opponent is not an array mage. Otherwise, Zhou Daocheng himself could not guarantee whether he would be directly robbed of his control by a more powerful array master. Even more, the other party only needed to find a loophole in this natural array to break into it directly, completely out of Zhou Daocheng's control. Of course, this was due to the natural deficiency of the array and had nothing to do with Zhou Daocheng's control. So the second thing he had to do was to repair the loophole in this array, that is, the entrance they had entered before. This place was obviously an extremely important array in this array, and it should be suppressed with a powerful force, but there was only a small hill, which became the biggest flaw of this second-level upper-grade array. In order to solve this flaw, Zhou Daocheng thought of many ways, but still could not solve it. In the end, he found the woman with the red snake tattoo and used a second-level lower-grade magic weapon to suppress it here, which made up for this loophole. Therefore, the power of the entire array was strengthened by another 30%, and Zhou Daocheng's control over the array was slightly reduced. If the previous natural mist formation was a fake second-grade upper-grade formation, then this time, it was a top-level formation that truly reached the peak of the second-grade upper-grade. Even if a second-grade formation master came, it would be difficult to break the formation from the outside, let alone easily take away Zhou Daocheng's control. After doing this, Zhou Daocheng finally let go of his worries. At least the safety here was fully guaranteed. The second-level high-grade formation, coupled with the garrison of the woman with the red snake tattoo, is enough to be fearless even if 2 or 3 foundation building experts forcefully break into the foggy valley at the same time. In the end, Zhou Daocheng still had one thing to do: adjust the distribution of spiritual energy in the foggy valley. Because there is no spiritual vein here, but the spiritual energy is provided by the fog spirit grass, the spiritual energy in the entire fog valley is relatively uniform, and all of them barely reach the second level. But this is not a good thing. It not only makes the spiritual energy more scattered, but also cannot be better utilized. Therefore, Zhou Daocheng used the formation to start adjusting the internal spiritual energy. 70% of the spiritual energy is concentrated in the outer areas of the entire Wugu Mountains, used to supply the operation of natural formations. After all, this formation is the foundation of everything. Secondly, 2.5% of the spiritual energy was concentrated in the third valley, raising the spiritual energy here to about the second level mid-level, providing training for the woman with the red snake tattoo. The last half-finished spiritual energy was gathered into the second valley, allowing the spiritual energy here to barely reach the peak of the first-order high grade, just enough to meet the needs of a strong person at the 9th level of Qi training. In the first valley, there was only some spiritual energy leaking out, and the concentration of spiritual energy was almost only the first-order mid-grade. Distributed in this way, all spiritual energy can be perfectly utilized and can effectively avoid waste. After finishing this, Zhou Daocheng stood up and stretched. The work was over and he could take a rest. When he returned to the valley, he saw that Wei Hanshan had returned. At this time, he was leading several monks to build the first valley. The originally rocky valley has now been repaired and maintained, its appearance has changed a lot, and several buildings have been initially constructed. Seeing Zhou Daocheng coming, Wei Hanshan also hurriedly stepped forward and bowed respectfully. Zhou Daocheng just waved his hand and asked, "Fellow Taoist Wei, is everyone's mission going well?" Elder Wei thought about it for a while and said, "I am mainly responsible for building the city. This task is relatively easy. Now it is on track. It should only take a month at most to complete the construction. However, the tasks of the other fellow Taoists may be more troublesome. After all, it is not an easy task for all the casual cultivators to leave their original living areas and come to Xinfang City, which is 10 days away." Zhou Daocheng nodded slightly, and he could understand this. Wugyufang City is far away and there are many dangers along the way. Many weak casual cultivators are not willing to take this risk and would rather stay in Baihifang City. "Mr. Wei, what do you think can be used to solve this problem?" Zhou Daocheng asked. Elder Wei sighed and said, "Senior, relying solely on personal connections to promote the market is not enough after all. We need to use some real benefits to attract these casual cultivators." Zhou Daocheng thought thoughtfully. Rogue cultivators are notorious for not letting go of hawks when they see rabbits. Without real benefits, they are definitely not willing to take the risk of walking 10 days to a brand new city. After thinking for a moment, Zhou Daocheng had an idea in his mind and said, "Mr. Wei, if we hold an auction, will it have good results?" Wei Hanshan shook his head slightly. "The auction is not the focus. The most important thing is the attractive treasures in the auction. Fellow Taoist Wei, how do you think my cave-shaped formation is attractive to casual cultivators?" Hearing this, Elder Wei's eyes lit up, and he thought for a moment and said, "Of course there is no problem, but your cave formation, senior, is of high quality, and ordinary casual cultivators shouldn't be able to afford it, right?" Zhou Daocheng waved his hand. "This is not a problem. Since we can refine the first-order high-grade formations, we can definitely refine the first-order low-grade and mid-grade formations." Hearing Zhou Daocheng's confident answer, Wei Hanshan also had a look of surprise in his eyes. It is precisely because he is a casual cultivator that he understands the meaning of the cave-type formation more deeply. A cave that can be carried with him, which can not only rest and practice at any time, but also perform defense and warning. For casual cultivators who hunt monsters in the wild all year round, this is tantamount to a magical weapon. It not only improves combat power, but also improves safety outside. Wei Hanshan thought about it and said with a little excitement, "Senior, if we can really refine the first-order low-grade and middle-grade Dongfu-type Fangshi, I believe that most casual cultivators will flock to it, and by then they will be able to make Wugyufang famous in one fell swoop." The name of the city. In that case, let's give it a try. Zhou Daocheng pondered for a moment, gave up the plan of continuing to rest in Foggy Valley, and returned directly to Balin Lake. But before that, he went to meet a woman with a red snake tattoo and handed her a jade tablet to facilitate her entry and exit in the formation. Afterwards, Zhou Daocheng embarked on his return journey. 10 days later, White Scale Lake, Underground Cave. Zhou Daocheng sat cross-legged, with 3 sets of formations placed in front of him, which are the basis for refining the cave-type formation: the first-order low-grade Earth Imperial Formation, the first-order mid-grade Earth Wall Formation, and the first-order high-grade Thick Earth Formation. Using these 3 sets of formations as prototypes and using the spiritual fertile soil for production, a unique, cave-type formation can be refined. For this, cave-type formation, Zhou Dao became more convenient to distinguish it, so he gave it a nice name, Tuling Xiao Shi. Zhou Daocheng also thought hard about how to make it. He needed to meet the needs of different groups of people and create different, Tuling Xiao Shi. After a period of thinking, Zhou Daocheng planned to refine 4 sets of Earth Spirit huts, of different sizes. The first type is prepared for Lone Rangers and is also the most common Earth Spirit hut. The quality is the first grade inferior grade. After the formation is deployed, a delicate earth house will be formed, which contains simple facilities such as training rooms, bedrooms, and kitchens. At the same time, it has a certain defensive ability. Because of its low quality, the price is relatively cheap, only 100 spirit stones are needed. The second type of Earth Spirit Hut is prepared for the casual cultivation team, the 5-person Earth Spirit Hut. It is also the first grade inferior grade, but the house in the formation is larger and is divided into 5 side-by-side rooms, which can accommodate 5 cultivators. The price is 200 inferior spirit stones. This is because many casual cultivation teams go out together, and they will not be so extravagant as to spend 100 spirit stones per person to buy earth spirit huts, so the market for this kind of collective dormitory is very good. Moreover, although the number of rooms seems to have doubled, in fact, for Zhou Daocheng, it is only a slight change in the array pattern, and the difficulty of refining is not very high. After all, whether it is the energy consumed, materials, and time, it is only to refine a first-level low-grade array. However, the wealth gained is several times that of an ordinary first-level low-grade earth defense array. First-level low-grade earth defense array. First-level